3 nights. That's how long it had been since I'd eaten anything more than a crust of bread. My stomach had stopped growling hours ago, moving past hunger into something hollow, something sharp. My wolf stirred restlessly inside me, whispering that I didn't need human food, that I could hunt. But no, not here. Not in a human city where exposing what I was meant death. The rain was merciless. It hammered the cracked pavement and poured down my hood, soaking through my thin jacket until it clung to my skin. My boots squelched with every step. The city was alive even in the storm, neon signs flickering, engines growling down the wet streets, shadows moving fast like they had somewhere important to be. Everyone always had somewhere to go. Everyone but me. I was rogue, outcast, alone, and in this world that was the most dangerous thing a wolf could be. The nightclub rose at the end of the street like a temple to sin and power. Eden Noir. Its golden letters glowed against the rain, promising heat and excess behind its heavy doors. A place crawling with predators, human predators. I wasn't sure if walking in there would save me or kill me. But I didn't have the luxury of choice. I pushed the doors open. Warmth and noise hit me all at once. Music thumped, lights strobed blue and red across a sea of bodies grinding and laughing and drinking like the world outside didn't exist. Perfume, sweat, smoke, it all tangled in the air. My senses went sharp, my wolf straining against the cage I forced it into. I lowered my hood and headed straight for the bar. No point in hesitation. Wolves who hesitated got eaten. The bartender was a bald man with tattoos climbing up his neck. He sized me up with a smirk that told me exactly how much he thought of a girl like me walking into a place like this. "You lost, sweetheart," he drawled over the music. "Looking for work," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm, steady. That got a laugh. "Work, in Eden Noir, what can you do? Pour drinks, clean toilets." "Anything," I said flatly. "Whatever pays." He leaned closer, eyes glinting. "Girls like you're better off staying far away from this place. You've got no idea who runs it." Before I could answer, the double doors at the far end of the club burst open. Shouts, heavy boots, weapons. The music cut off like someone had ripped the wires out. For a heartbeat, the whole club froze in disbelief. Then chaos exploded. Men in dark coats stormed in, weapons drawn. Bullets tore through glass and wood. Screams filled the air. People scattered, stumbling over each other in blind panic. "Where, Morty?" one of them roared. "Come out, you coward." The bartender ducked. I dropped too, heart hammering so hard I felt it in my teeth. Morty, even I had heard that name. The king of this city's shadows, a man you never looked in the eye. So this was his club. Of course it was. I pressed myself against the bar, glass exploding above me. My wolf surged, teeth bared inside my chest, begging me to shift, to fight. But I couldn't. If I transformed here in front of all these eyes, I'd be destroyed or taken before dawn. The sound of deliberate footsteps cut through the chaos. He appeared on the balcony above us like a figure carved out of night itself. Dante Moretti. I'd never seen him before, but the second his eyes swept over the room, I knew. This was a man who didn't need to shout to be heard, who didn't need to lift a weapon to be dangerous. Power clung to him like a second skin. Black suit, crisp, dark hair slicked back. His jawline caught the light, sharp as a blade. He didn't flinch as bullets ripped through the air below him. He didn't rush. He simply raised one hand. "Destroy them," he said, calm as a prayer. And the room answered. His men poured out from the shadows, weapons flashing, knives slicing, precise and merciless. Screams turned to choking gurgles. Red liquid sprayed against neon light. I scrambled on hands and knees toward the back exit, desperate to disappear before anyone noticed me. But I hadn't made it more than 3 feet before a rough hand yanked me off the floor. "Gotcha," a deep voice growled. I slammed into a wall, breath knocked out of me. A giant of a man loomed over me, a weapon steady in one hand, his other hand pinning me by the shoulder. Broad chest, scar across his brow, eyes sharp as a hawk's. "Who the hell are you?" he barked. "Nobody," I gasped, shoving against him. "I was just looking for work." His eyes narrowed. He shoved me harder against the wall, his body shielding mine as a hail of bullets shredded the air above us. "You picked the wrong night," he said grimly. More shots. Shattered glass rained down. Someone screamed. Another man shouted over the gunfire. "This is Raphael's city now." Raphael. I memorized the name as dread coiled in my gut. Whoever he was, he wanted Morty destroyed, and he wasn't going to stop until red liquids covered every inch of this place. The big man shielding me cursed under his breath, then turned his face toward me, still holding me down. "Stay behind me or you'll end up in a body bag. Got it?" I nodded quickly, my pulse slamming in my throat. Then silence fell. Gunfire faded into ringing ears. The attackers were gone or destroyed. Bodies littered the floor. Smoke curled upward from the ruins of shattered glass and splintered wood. And Dante Moretti walked down the staircase like a man strolling through a garden, not a battlefield. His shoes didn't hesitate over the blood pooling across the floor. He scanned the club, eyes sharp, unreadable, and then they found me. His gaze locked on mine, and for a terrifying, breathless second, it felt like he could see everything. The hunger in my belly, the fear crawling under my skin, the wolf packing inside my chest, snarling to be free. I froze, couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Then just as smoothly, his gaze slid away. He gave a low command to his men, voice calm as ever. Bodies were dragged, floors wiped clean, order restored. The big man still holding me, Marco, I heard someone call him, finally let me go, but his eyes didn't soften. If anything, they hardened. "You don't belong here," he said flatly. No kidding. But as Dante Moretti's gaze flicked back to me one last time, heat crawling up my spine, one thing became very, very clear. I had walked into the lion's den. And lions didn't let prey just walk back out. The club still smelled like smoke and rain when Marco marched me down a quiet hallway. My shoes slid on wet tile. The music had stopped. The screams had faded. Only low voices and the sound of mops scraping the floor remained. "Move," Marco said. "I'm moving," I muttered. He didn't laugh. He didn't blink. He kept one hand near the gun at his hip, like I might sprout claws and teeth and leap for his throat. My wolf snarled at the thought. I shoved it down and kept walking. We stopped at a black door with gold trim. Marco opened it and pushed me inside. Heat washed over me. The office was huge, dark wood, clean lines, city lights pouring through floor-to-ceiling windows. The storm outside threw silver streaks over everything. A decanter sat on a sideboard. A single painting hung behind the desk, a winter forest, black trees, and white snow. My breath hitched. I looked away. Dante Moretti stood at the window, watching the rain like it answered to him. No tie, shirt sleeves rolled, cuffs stained at the edges from the fight. Calm, still, dangerous the way a blade lying flat is still dangerous. Marco shut the door and took up position along the wall. Dante didn't turn. "What's your name?" "Aria," I said. "Last name." "Don't see how that matters." His reflection met my eyes in the glass, dark, unreadable. "Everything matters." Silence stretched, thin and sharp. I lifted my chin. "Aria Vera." He finally faced me. Up close, his presence pressed like weight. His gaze traveled from my wet hair to my torn sleeve to the small cut on my knuckles. He clocked every detail, not lust, assessment. "Why Eden Noir?" he asked. "I need work." "You picked a war zone." "I didn't know your enemies kept schedules." The corner of his mouth twitched, not a smile, not quite. "What can you do?" "Anything." That's not an answer. I learn fast, I run faster. From what? From starving. His eyes cooled another few degrees, like I'd just admitted a weakness. Maybe I had. I folded my arms to hide the shake in my hands. "Who sent you?" he asked. "No one." "Who do you belong to?" "No one." His gaze sharpened. "Everyone belongs to someone." "Not me." Marco shifted, like he'd heard something wrong in my tone. Dante's head tilted, the way a predator studies a sound it can't place. I kept my voice even. Look, I showed up for a job. I'm not a spy. I'm not with the men who stormed your club. I just need money and food and a bed that isn't a sidewalk. If you can give me that, I'll give you work. That's it. He crossed the room without hurry, poured 2 fingers of whiskey, and set the glass in front of me on the desk. He didn't offer it like kindness. He placed it like a test. Drink, he said. No. A small pause. Why? I don't drink with strangers. We're past strangers. I'm not. Marco's mouth pulled in a grim half-smile that said I had no idea where I stood. He wasn't wrong. Dante didn't push the glass. He leaned a hip against the desk and watched me like I was a puzzle he would enjoy breaking. What did you see on the floor? He asked. Men in dark coats, military boots, new, not worn. Their leader was left-handed. He reloaded with his right and fumbled. I nodded toward the window. They came through the front to make a point. They shouted your name to make another. They weren't there to win. They were there to stain your marble with blood. Message received. Marco's brows rose a fraction. Dante's eyes didn't move from mine. Whose message? Raphael, I said. And how do you know that name? Everyone on your payroll knows that name, even the bartender. He let that pass. You kept your head. Not like I had much to spare. You moved like someone who's seen guns before, he said. You knew where to duck, where to use cover, where the exits are. You scanned the room 3 times in under 10 seconds. I scan rooms. It's a habit. Why? Because I like living. He let another quiet beat stretch thin. Habit learned where? On the road. Running from what? I held his gaze. Past due rent. Another non-smile. Try again. A soft knock tapped the door. It opened an inch, and a woman slipped inside with the grace of someone who never tripped. She wore a cream coat over a black dress, diamonds like frost at her ears, dark hair, sharp eyes. She took in the room in one sweep and set a soft smile on her lips that didn't dull her focus. Am I interrupting? She asked. Sophia, Dante said, not taking his eyes off me. In or out, pick one. She came in and closed the door with her shoulder, then stepped over to me like we were at a cocktail party and not a post-massacre interrogation. I'm Sophia Morty, she said. My brother can be intense. I noticed, I said. Her gaze flicked to the cut on my knuckle. She pulled a silk handkerchief from her coat pocket and offered it. You're bleeding. It's nothing. Humor me. I took the cloth. Warmth crept up my throat I didn't want. Thanks. Where did Marco find you? She asked, eyes bright, curious. Not cruel, not naive. She knew the world we were standing in and still chose soft edges. Behind the bar, I said. Bad timing. Or very good timing, she said lightly, then to Dante. Are you hearing her? Not yet, he said. Soon, she murmured, like it was decided. She gave me a quick wink and turned back to the door. Don't scare her to death, Dante. We need servers more than corpses. Out, he said, but there was no bite in it. She left, the scent of jasmine trailing after her. The room felt colder when she was gone. Dante stepped behind the desk, finally sat. He steepled his fingers. You said you'll do anything. That's what I said. Words are cheap. My work is. We'll see, he glanced at Marco. Search her. Marco pushed off the wall with a sigh that said he'd been waiting all night to do something easy. He moved in, efficient and professional. I lifted my arms, jaw tight. He found nothing but the thin knife in my boot, the only friend I had left, and a crumpled $5 bill in my pocket. Marco set the knife on the desk, blade turned toward me. Not a threat, a reminder. No phone, Marco said. No wallet. No ID. She's clean. She's desperate, Dante said. He reached into a drawer and laid a small metal device on the desk, sleek, black, with a blue light like an eye. I want to know if you're wired. I'm not. We'll verify. He slid the scanner across the space between us. It hummed. The blue light crawled, pulsed, faded. He flipped the device off and set it aside. "Good," he said, as if I'd passed a test I hadn't agreed to take. "Can I leave now?" I asked. "No." I crossed my arms tighter. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You walked into my house in the middle of a war," he said softly. "That's either very stupid or very bold. I don't let either walk back out." The door opened again, before I could tell him what I thought of that. A man in a charcoal suit slid inside like smoke. No sound, no fuss. He was handsome the way polished stone is handsome. Clean lines, cool shine, nothing to catch a finger on. Warm brown eyes, soft voice. He carried a folder and a small bottle of water, which he set near my elbow without looking at me like it was automatic to be kind. "Matteo," Dante said, "you're late." "Traffic," the man said with a mild smile. He turned to me. "You must be Aria. My people told me a minute ago." His voice was smooth, gentle, like a hand on a fevered forehead. "Rough night. Please drink, you're shaking." "I'm fine," I said, but I opened the water. The plastic cracked, loud in the quiet. I took a small sip. It felt like a sin. Matteo leaned against the bookcase, casual, open posture. "I've asked medical to stand by if she needs a check." "I don't," I said. "Good," he said. "Do you have a place to sleep?" "No." "We can arrange a room," Matteo said, then glanced at Dante. "Temporarily." "This is not a shelter," Dante said. "No," Matteo agreed calmly. "It's a business, and you protect your business by not letting a witness walk out the front door tonight." "Witness?" The word slid under my skin and sat there. "I didn't see much," I said. "You saw enough," Dante said. Matteo's eyes warmed on me. "He's not wrong, but you did well on that floor. You didn't panic. You helped push a man toward the exit. You kept low. You watched angles. That's rare." "I watch doors," I said. "It keeps you alive." "I see." Matteo folded his arms, thoughtful. "You said you want work. We have work." I looked at Dante. He didn't blink. Matteo continued, pleasant as a nurse with a needle. "Runner, discreet errands, paperwork drops, no questions asked. You'll be paired with a senior man. You'll be paid. You'll keep your head down. If you cross a line, we will know. If you lie, we will know. If you steal, we will know. Does that sound fair?" "What's the catch?" I asked. Dante's mouth curved, a slow, cold thing. "The catch is me." "Meaning?" "Meaning your life belongs to my rules while you're under my roof," he said. "You will be where I tell you. You will speak to who I allow. You will not disappear. You will not make phone calls I don't approve. You will not chant a prayer I haven't heard." The last line was almost a joke and not a joke at all. Anger rose, clean and hot. "I'm not property." "You're an asset," he said. "Or a problem, I decide which." Matteo shot me a quiet, sympathetic look. "He isn't trying to scare you." "Really?" I said. "He's telling you the truth," Matteo said. "If you want to survive here, believe what he says." Believe, not obey. Interesting choice of word. Sophia's soft knock returned. She poked her head in, eyes bright. "House staff says the kitchen can do soup. She looks like she needs soup." "She looks like she needs rules," Dante said. "Soup first," Sophia said, decisive, then softer to me. "You allergic to anything?" "Lies," I said. She laughed out loud, delighted. "Oh, I like her." To Dante, "Keep her, or at least don't destroy her." "Sophia," he warned. She blew him a kiss and vanished again, light as a firefly. I set the water down. "Let me make something clear. I don't spy. I don't sleep my way into promotions. I don't tattle to cops. I don't scare easy. And I don't break when men tell me to bend." Dante watched me like I'd stepped closer to the edge of a cliff by choice. "Noted." "If I work," I said, "I want cash, not checks. I want a room with a lock that works. I want food. I want one day a week where I can walk outside alone." Marco made a low sound. Matteo's brows lifted. Dante's expression didn't change. "No," Dante said. "To which part?" "The last one." "You planning to keep me caged?" "I'm planning to keep you alive." "I do that fine on my own." "Do you?" he asked softly. "You walked into my club starving." The truth hit like a slap. Heat rose and I hated it. I stared at the winter painting behind him until the trees blurred. Mateo's voice gentled. One step at a time, Aria. Take the job, take the room, eat, sleep. We'll discuss outside privileges when Raphael stops sending men through the front door. Raphael, the name dragged the air colder. What does he want? I asked. Everything, Dante said. And what do you want? His gaze didn't waver. Loyalty. To you. To the house, to the rules, to the work. A beat. To me. He meant it. He always would. I thought about the rain, the empty alleys, the ache in my bones, the wolf under my skin, packing, hungry, tired. A small room and a lock that worked sounded like a dream. A warm bowl of soup sounded like a miracle. I also thought about cages. I'd been in one once. I still had the scar at my hip where the silver had kissed me. I rubbed the spot through my wet jacket without meaning to. Dante noticed. Of course he did. His gaze cut to my hand, then back to my face. He didn't ask. Maybe he'd file the detail away for later use. Maybe that was worse. I don't kneel, I said. I don't ask you to, he said. I ask you to stand where I place you. I don't snitch. Then we agree. I walk when I want. You do not. We stared at each other over that line like two cliffs across a black river. Mateo broke the silence with a soft clap of hands, kind, efficient. Good, boundaries stated, work to be done. He slid the folder onto the desk. Here are 3 tasks for the morning. Easy, low risk, we'll test her. If she passes, we move to higher trust. The morning, I asked. It's still raining. It'll still be raining in the morning, Mateo said with a gentle smile. A small chime sounded from Dante's phone. He glanced at it, his face turning a shade harder. He pocketed it and stood. The room changed around him when he moved, like gravity noticed and adjusted. Decision time, he said. You're not walking back into the storm. You're not calling anyone. You're not leaving with anyone. If you refuse the job, I lock you in a guest room until I decide what to do with you. If you accept, you work, you eat, you sleep, you follow my rules, you get paid. You cross me, I end you. Pick. Marco didn't blink. Mateo's calm never wavered. The rain tapped the glass like fingers waiting for my yes or no. My wolf pressed against my ribs, wild and furious. Not at the threat, at the hunger, at the thought of a roof and a lock and a bowl of soup. It hated needing. I hated it too. Fine, I said. I'll take the job. Dante's eyes cooled in a way that looked like satisfaction and wasn't. Good. With one condition, I added. Marco's hand touched his gun again. Mateo tilted his head, interested. Dante said nothing. I won't be your property, I said. I don't wear a collar, I don't wear a brand, I work, you pay, that's the deal. A long second passed. Outside, thunder rolled, low and distant. You're not a dog, Aria, he said at last. If you were, you'd already heal. Then stop tugging the leash. Something flashed in his eyes, something dark and inconveniently human. He pushed it down before it could live. Marco will show you to a room, he said. Mateo will bring the morning tasks. The kitchen will send soup. I can find a room myself, I said. You're not walking my halls alone tonight. Afraid I'll get lost. Afraid someone will try to test what I've just claimed, he said, voice quiet and iron. And I don't repeat myself. Claimed. The word raised the hair on my arms. He said it like a legal fact, not a romantic threat, and somehow that made it worse. Dante moved back to the window. Go. Marco opened the door. I didn't move. Raphael's men, I said. They shouted your name, they wanted blood. Why tonight? Dante's reflection met mine in the glass again. Because I took something he thought belonged to him. What? My city. Mateo's smile thinned. Let's get you settled, Aria. I stepped toward the door, then paused, looked back. Dante Moretti stood in silhouette against the storm, a king watching his kingdom burn and planning where to build the next wall. Hey, I said. He turned his head a fraction. I don't scare easy, I said, but I don't break for free either. You'll be paid, he said. I'm not talking about money. His gaze held mine across the room. Lightning flickered. The winter trees in the painting looked like bars. Then don't break, he said softly. Work. Marco's hand hovered near my shoulder, impatient. I stepped into the hall. As the door clicked shut behind me, Matteo fell in at my side, pleasant, steady, warm. The kind of man who remembered people's birthdays. The kind of man who brought water first. You did well, he said quietly. He respects spine. Does he? He respects survival, Matteo said. You have that look. What look? The look of someone who's still standing when she shouldn't be. He glanced down the long corridor, then back at me with a little brotherly tilt to his smile. A word of advice. Keep your head down. This house eats noise. I'm good at quiet, I said. Good, he patted the folder under his arm. Tomorrow we'll see how good. Marco led me up a flight of stairs. The house smelled like lemon oil and gunpowder. Staff moved like ghosts. My wet jacket chilled me again. The cut on my knuckle throbbed. The wolf inside me stretched and scratched, restless. Caged but fed soon. Caged but dry. For tonight, that would have to be enough. We reached a small door. Marco unlocked it and flicked on the light. Very clean bed, white sheets, a dresser, a medium-sized table, a window that didn't open, and few cloths paired with shoes, pretty much everything. Bathrooms down the hall, he said. Don't wander. You do, the cameras will see you before I do. Great, I said. He studied me, jaw working like he wanted to say something and decided not to. Eat the soup, he said finally. You look like you'll fall over. Thanks for the concern, I said. It's not concern. I don't like hauling bodies. He shut the door. I stood in the quiet and listened to my heartbeat. The storm hushed to steady rain. Somewhere below, a pot clanged. The scent of chicken and herbs drifted up the vents like a promise. I pressed my palm to the cool glass of the window and stared at the hard glitter of the city. My breath fogged a small oval in the pane. I erased it with my wrist. No one owns me, I told myself. The lock clicked in the door as someone opened it without knocking. I turned fast. A girl in an apron slipped in with a tray, bowl of soup, bread, fried chicken, a glass of water. She set it down, eyes on the floor. From the kitchen, she whispered, then, barely audible, welcome to the house. Thanks, I said. She disappeared as quickly as she'd come. I picked up the spoon. My hand shook once. I steadied it and took a sip. Heat, salt, life. I ate fast. I didn't mean to. I just did. When the bowl was empty, I set it down and breathed like I'd run a mile. The wolf settled, warm and wary. Tomorrow would bring errands, tests, rules, eyes, Dante, Matteo's kindness like silk on a knife, Sophia's smile like a light left on in a dark hall. I lay back on the clean white sheets and stared at the ceiling. I wasn't safe, but I wasn't starving, and for tonight, still that was a win. Somewhere in the house, a phone buzzed. Somewhere else, a door locked. Far below, a man at a window planned a war, and another man with warm eyes wrote a list that would cut me open later. My lids fell heavy. But I didn't sleep. I watched the ceiling and listened to the rain fade into a silver hiss. The house moved in soft rhythms. Footsteps padded past my door. A cart rolled down the hall. A murmur of voices rose and fell like the ocean. A glimpse of sleep was there, but not long. Maybe couple of hours, not more than that. When dawn finally brushed the window gray, my body loosened just enough to feel the ache in my shoulders. A soft knock sounded. I was on my feet before the second tap. Yeah. The door opened 2 inches. The same kitchen girl from last night slipped in with a tray. Coffee, toast, 2 hard-boiled eggs. Her hair was wrapped in a scarf, eyes clear and shy. Breakfast, she whispered. Thank you, I said. House wakes at 6, she said. Don't be late if Mr. Romano calls. Mr. Romano. Matteo, she breathed, then went pink like she'd said a secret. He's nicer than most. Nicer? I filed that word away, then caught the name stitched on her apron. Thank you, Lena. Her surprise showed. "You read fast," she said, and smiled like that meant something, then slid out the door. I ate leaning on the dresser, eye on the clock. 5:58. The coffee was strong enough to resurrect the dead. I pulled on my jacket, checked my boot, no knife. Dante still had it. Smoothed my wet hair back with a palm and stepped into the hall at 6:01. Cameras tucked into corners watched with unblinking red pupils. The air smelled like lemon oil and soap. A housekeeper pushed a cart past, eyes lowered. A man in a suit passed me without a glance. Another, younger, nodded once like I'd passed a test I didn't know about. "Ms. Vera," a warm voice said. Matteo stood at the far end of the corridor, charcoal suit, no tie, sleeves rolled. He held the same leather folder from last night. His smile was small and real, the kind that told you to lower your shoulders, the kind that said he'd never raise his voice. "Morning," I said. "You look like you didn't sleep," he said gently. "I didn't." "You'll learn to sleep when you can," he offered the folder. "Here are your first tasks." I took it. Inside, 3 envelopes, thick paper, no markings. A slim card with addresses typed in neat lines. A cheap flip phone like it had come from a bargain bin. A small metal key. Matteo's finger tapped each item as he spoke. "You'll ride with Marco. You will not open the envelopes. You will not ask the recipients what's in them. You will not take the same path twice. If you deviate, Marco logs it. If you're followed, you call me. If you feel unsafe, you call me. The phone is pre-programmed with 2 numbers, mine and the house." "No 911. He smiled faintly. "We respond faster." "What am I delivering?" I asked. "Paperwork," he said. "What kind of paperwork?" "The kind worth more than paper," he said pleasantly. "If anyone touches you, Marco breaks their hand." His eyes didn't change as he said it. "If anyone takes the envelopes, you say nothing. You don't fight for paper. You fight for breath." "Got it." "And Aria," he added. "Yeah." "Eat when you can. Drink water, don't try to impress anyone. The house eats noise." "I'm good at quiet," I said. "I believe you." He paused like he was about to add something else, then didn't. "Marco is waiting in the garage." We moved together. He set a steady pace, not too fast, not testing me. The elevator opened into a garage that looked like a showroom. Black cars lined in precise angles, floors so clean they reflected the ceiling. Men in suits, men in black shirts under black jackets, cameras everywhere. Marco leaned against a low black SUV, arms crossed. He looked exactly as done with the world as he had last night. "You ready, runner?" he asked. "I'm ready," I said. He opened the passenger door. "In." I climbed in, matte black panels, no smell of air freshener, just leather and faint gun oil. Marco slid behind the wheel. Matteo rested a hand on the open window. "Keep her breathing," Matteo said. "That's my favorite hobby," Marco said dryly, then to me. "Buckle up." We rolled out into the pale morning. The storm had wrung the city clean, gutters still choked with leaves and cigarette butts. People moved crisp and early, like they'd slept through gunfire without trouble. "Rule 1, Marco said, taking a left, then another left. "Do what I say when I say it." "Okay." "Rule 2, don't improvise unless it's better than my plan. I mean really, really better." "Okay." "Rule 3, don't lie to me." "That depends who you are," I said. He cut me a look. "I'm the guy keeping you alive." "Then I won't lie to you," I said. He snorted, then drove on. "Good answer." We hit the first address after a slow loop of turns. A bakery that smelled like butter and heat. Marco double-parked, eyes scanning the street, the roofs, the windows. "Envelope A," he said. I pulled the top one, tucked it under my jacket, and stepped out. Bells chimed. A woman behind the counter didn't look up. A man at a back table did. He wore an old sweater, hands like they'd kneaded dough for 50 years. I walked to him and set the envelope down. "For you," I said. He didn't touch it right away. He looked at my hands, at my face. Then he slid the envelope into a tote bag and said, "Tell your mister that the ovens are hot." "I'm not anyone's," I said. His mouth almost smiled. Nobody is, he said, which was the nicest lie I'd heard today, and went back to his coffee. Outside, Marco watched my shoulders, my steps, the reflection of the bakery windows in our car door. Don't stop short, he said when I buckled in. You hesitate when you hand over a thing like that, you look guilty. I didn't hesitate. You thought about it. I think a lot. Try less, he said, but not mean. Address 2 was a flower shop. Warm, damp, green. A teenage girl with green fingernails whistled along to the radio, then looked up and flushed when she saw Marco behind me in the glass. This one, I said, placing the second envelope on the counter. The girl slid it into a drawer without touching any part she didn't have to. Tell Mr. Romano the peonies came late. I'll do that, I said then low. What's your name? Her eyes darted to Marco's reflection again. Why? Because it's nice to be a person in a room. She swallowed. B. Nice to meet you, B. I slipped out. Marco didn't comment. We drove again. The city opened in slices, steel and glass towers, alleys with murals, a park bordered by iron fence, a church with bells that rang the hour. The world kept happening whether people bled under it or not. I hated that and loved it both. Last drop, Marco said, turning onto a narrower street near the river. Warehouses lined the block. A small door set in a big one stood under a crooked number. He killed the engine but kept his hands on the wheel. You see that blue sedan 3 cars back? Yeah. It's new, he said. Picked us up 2 turns ago. How many people? 2, maybe 3. Police. Not with that tint. Rough yell. Maybe, he said. Maybe just eyes, take C. I pulled the last envelope. It had a faint crease at the corner, like someone with careful hands had bent it once and smoothed it flat. Walk, Marco said. Slow, deliver. If anything feels wrong, don't try to be a hero. Turn around and come back. I'll handle wrong. Okay. I got out. The river smelled like iron. Gulls screamed in the distance. My boots hit the wet concrete with soft slaps. I lifted my hand and knocked 4 times like the card instructed. The slot slid open. A gaze. Old male, not friendly. Name. Aria. He shut the slot. Locks turned. The door opened enough for my shoulder to slide through. Hands didn't grab me. That was a good sign. Inside, a narrow corridor. A man with a cap and a rag pressed to an old scar nodded at the envelope. For you, I said. You are new, he said. Yeah. Tell Mr. Morty his docks smell like fish. Thanks for the poetry, I said. He huffed something almost like a laugh. I walked out as a forklift beeped somewhere beyond the wall. When I hit daylight, my instincts raked down my spine like claws. I turned my head enough to catch the blue sedan's mirror flash. 2 men in the front seat, no faces. I walked calmly to the car, every cell awake. I opened the passenger door and got in without a sound. Eyes 2 men, I murmured. I see them, Marco said. He glanced in the mirror, then pulled away easy as a Sunday drive. He didn't look back again. He took a left, then another. Then he slid into a weaving line of delivery trucks and tourists and let the city hide us just by being itself. Still on us? I asked. Not now, he said, but his hands stayed ready on the wheel. We drove for a long minute. My heart slowed. The wolf in me stayed up on its feet, ears forward, reading the wind that wasn't there. You did fine, Marco said. Fine. You didn't run, you didn't stare, you didn't reach for anything that would make me shoot. He cut me a sideways look. You're built for this. Built for survival, I said. Same thing, he said. By the time we got back to the house, the sun had shoved the clouds aside and made the driveway glitter. Staff moved like a choreographed dance, cars in, cars out, packages signed, voices low. I followed Marco through a side entrance, past a glassed-in office where a man counted money without looking up once. Drop complete, Marco told a guard, then to me. Upstairs. Mateo was in the library, dark shelves, ladders on rails, a window seat with a view of the city's spine. He stood when we entered, eyes going to my face first, like he could measure my pulse from 10 feet away. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Hungry," I said because it was true. "Kitchen will send up a plate," he said, unoffended, then to Marco. "Report." 3 drops, one tail shook them at the river. Mateo's head tilted. "Describe the car." "Blue sedan, aftermarket tint, sloppy mirror, 2 in front." "License." "Obscured," Marco said. "I see," Mateo said, thoughtful. "You did well." He looked at me. "Both of you." He moved behind a desk, opened a drawer, and set my boot knife on the polished wood. He turned it so the handle faced me. "You kept your word," he said. I said I would. "Keep it," he said, "and keep it sheathed until you need it." "I always need it," I said, sliding the knife into my boot. "But I'll behave." He smiled. "I like honest liars." I didn't answer that. He picked up a pen and signed something with a smooth hand, then set another sheet down for me. "Your signature here acknowledges that you understand your duties," he said. "It does not list your duties." "Useful," I said, reading the blank lines where the list should have been. "You have 3 immediate rules," he said. "No phones except the one I gave you, no guests, no walking out without Marco." "I asked for 1 day a week outside," I said. "And he said no," Mateo said gently. "He will say no until the city stops listening so closely." "The blue sedan," I said. "And others," he said. The door opened. The temperature in the room changed, like someone had cracked a window in a snowstorm. Dante stepped in, black suit, crisp again, hair perfect, expression carved from something that didn't melt. His gaze swept us, took our measure, and then landed on me with weight. "How did she do?" he asked. "Not dead," Marco said. "Hard to impress you," Dante said. "Hard but possible," Marco said. "She handled a tail," Mateo said. "Delivered clean, didn't flinch." Dante's gaze stayed on my face. "Did you enjoy your walk, Aria?" "I enjoyed not getting shot," I said. "Good," he said. "Let's keep that streak going." He moved closer, not hurried, not lazy, just inevitable. Up close, he didn't smell like cologne. He smelled like cold air when a door opens on winter. "Tell me what you saw," he said. "City still sleeps after storms," I said. "The bakery is clean and old. The flower shop hums. The river stinks. The warehouse man likes jokes. The blue sedan needs a new mirror." His mouth almost moved. "And the men in it." "Hungry," I said. "For what?" Dante asked. "Your name on a slab," I said. He studied me for a quiet beat. Sparks flicked between us, annoying, inconvenient sparks. I hated them, so did he. It made them worse. "You will stay on the property when you are not working," he said. "You will not speak to anyone I don't approve." "Careful," I said. "If you limit my words, I start choosing them with knives." "Choose," he said, deadly soft, "and I will choose back." Mateo's voice slid between us like silk. "She's earned lunch first." Dante's gaze didn't cut away. "And after lunch," he said to me, "you'll help Sophia inventory the charity boxes. You'll keep your hands visible and your ears open." "Charity," I said. "How generous." "We feed the city that feeds us," he said. "With what?" "Food," he said, "and rules." He turned away, then paused. "There's a meeting tonight. You'll be present." "Why?" I asked. "Because you see things," he said. "And if I see the wrong thing?" "You'll tell me," he said without turning, "or you'll learn to regret not telling me." He left as if he'd never been there. The room warmed by a degree. Mateo exhaled, small and wry. "He likes you." "Like isn't the word," I said. "What word would you use?" "Interested, the way a hawk is interested in a mouse." "You're not a mouse," Mateo said. "You're a cat that hasn't decided which roof to live on." "Generous," I said. "Practical," he said. "Go with Sophia, learn the house." Sophia found me in the hall before I could find her. She wore jeans and a white shirt and sneakers with glitter at the heel. A clipboard rode her hip like it had been born there. "There you are," she said. "Inventory time, try not to die of boredom." "I'll fight," I said, "but no promises." She laughed and tugged me toward a bright room stacked with boxes. The smell of soap and paper and canned tomatoes hit first. Staff moved in quiet lines, unloading, counting, loading again. "We send food to 2 shelters and 1 church," Sophia said. "Dante signs the checks. I make sure the cans aren't expired. Guess who people like more?" "You," I said. "Correct. Open and read dates, mark if bad, tape if good." She handed me a box cutter. As I slit cardboard, she sighed. "I saw you with Matteo." "He saw me with me," I said. "Careful with him," she said lightly, then softer. "He's a good man, mostly, but this house is a river. Everyone is carried by something." "And you." She grinned. "I float." We worked fast. Sweat warmed my back. The rhythm felt almost normal, almost human. Sophia told a story about a benefit where a donor tried to steal a centerpiece and broke a nail so dramatically she needed a medic. I told her about a bus station in Ohio where a man juggled oranges for breakfast money. We were both lying by omission. It felt like a truce. A man in a gray sweater stepped in, hesitated like he didn't belong, then lifted a clipboard awkwardly. "Ms. Morty." Sophia looked up. "Yes." "Delivery log," he said. "For tonight. The drivers want to swap the timing. If we move the church drop first, they'll avoid the lane closure on 15th. "That lane closure was last week," Sophia said. "City extended it," he said quickly. "I heard it on the radio." "Which station?" I asked without thinking. He blinked. "The one with the traffic." Sophia and I traded a look. She took the clipboard, skimmed it, then smiled bright and friendly like a streetlight. "Thank you, Simon. We'll let you know." He bobbed his head and retreated too fast. "New?" I asked. 2 weeks, Sophia said. "Quiet, polite, jumps when doors close." We went back to cans. 10 minutes later, Matteo appeared in the doorway, mild as a spring day. "How's inventory?" "Tomatoes for an army," Sophia said, "and a question." He stepped in, hands in pockets. "Ask." "Did you approve swapping the church drop to first tonight?" she asked. Matteo's smile barely moved. "No." She nodded like she'd expected that. "Thank you." He glanced at me. I lifted a shoulder. "Guy called Simon tried to push a change, said traffic, didn't know the station name." Matteo's gaze went to the hall where Simon had vanished. Then he pivoted back with that same patient warmth. "Good catch." "Could be nothing," I said. "It could," he agreed, and it was the way he agreed that told me it was. After he left, Sophia tapped her pen against her clipboard, a tiny, anxious beat. "Sometimes I think the walls listen." "They do," I said, "but people talk louder." "True," she said, then softer. "Stay close tonight." "Plan on it." By late afternoon, the house changed clothes. Lights warmed, security doubled, voices dropped. The sun slid down the glass towers outside. Staff set water pitchers and small black folders in a conference room with a table long enough to host a jury of kings. I washed my hands, changed into a clean black shirt someone had left on my bed, and tied my hair back. The flip phone sat in my pocket, heavy as a stone. As I crossed the landing toward the conference room, I saw Dante through an open office door, standing close to the window, speaking low to a man whose shoulders were tight enough to crack. Dante's face didn't change as the man talked. He said one short sentence. The man nodded, pale, and left fast. Dante saw me in the glass and turned his head a fraction. "Aria," he said. "Boss," I said before I could stop myself, because the word fit the air. His mouth did that almost smile. He nodded at the hall. "Come." I stepped in. He didn't offer a seat. I didn't need one. "You saw a proposed route change," he said. "Sophia did," I said. "I just asked a dumb question." "Dumb questions cut throats," he said softly. "Keep asking them." "Was it nothing?" I asked. "Nothing doesn't happen in my house," he said. "Not twice." A breath beat between us. The electricity I hated flickered again, static on skin, prickling and real. He stepped closer, and it felt less like he moved and more like the room shrank. "If someone asks you for information," he said low, "you bring it to me or to Matteo, no one else." "Who would ask me for information?" I asked. "Anyone who thinks I can be softened," he said. "Can you?" "No," he said, and it wasn't bravado. It was a weather report. Footsteps sounded. Matteo appeared in the doorway, smooth as a comma. "We're ready." Dante looked at him, then back at me. "Stand behind Sophia. Listen, don't speak unless I ask you to." "I like not speaking," I said. "Do you?" he asked, very quiet. "Sometimes," I said, "when the room is this loud." He considered me a heartbeat longer, then turned away. "Let's work." We moved into the conference room. Men took seats. Paper slid. Water poured. The city glowed outside with the kind of gold that makes you think nothing bad can live within it. I stood behind Sophia's chair, hands folded, eyes moving. Marco was at the door. Matteo sat 2 seats down from Dante, posture lazy, smile easy, pen in hand. He looked harmless and helpful and exactly like the man you'd tell a secret to. I looked at faces, tight mouths, shifting eyes, a nervous hand smoothing a tie. A man I hadn't seen before, Simon in a suit now, sweating under the collar, gaze stuck to his notes. My neck prickled. Dante began without preamble. "We have a problem," he said, voice calm, cold. "Someone inside my house tried to reroute a delivery." Chairs creaked. No one spoke. "Only 3 people had the schedule," Dante said. "Matteo, Sophia." He turned his head, and his eyes found mine like he'd known exactly where I stood. "And our new runner. So if the schedule leaked, it leaked through one of you or through someone who stuck their fingers into your pockets." Silence tightened until I heard my own breath. Matteo's pen paused. He looked up, sympathetic and steady. "We'll find the leak," he said. Dante's gaze slid across the table, slow as a knife. "Yes," he said, "we will." Outside, the city sparkled like it had no idea a storm had rolled right back in. Inside, I felt it, thin as a wire across the floor, bright as a trip line. Someone was listening. Someone had already spoken. And for the first time since I'd stepped into Eden Noir, I understood that the house didn't just eat noise. It echoed it. The conference room held its breath. Dante's gaze cut across the table like frost. Then he stood, chair whispering back into place. "Everyone out," he said. Chairs scraped, suits murmured. Marco opened the door and bodies flowed through, heads down. Matteo gathered papers with quiet hands, glanced at me once, warm, steady, and slipped after them. Sophia squeezed my wrist as she passed, a small pulse of comfort. Dante didn't move until the room was nearly empty. Then he looked at me. "Come," he said. No time gap, no breath between. I followed him into the hall. The house lights had shifted to evening gold. Outside, the city burned with sunset. "Where?" I asked. "Negotiation," he said, already walking. "You're coming." "To test me." "To test them," he said. "You'll watch." Marco joined us at the elevator, jaw set. He handed me a small black earpiece. "Left ear. If you hear my voice, you move." I slid it in. A soft click. The doors opened. We dropped. In the garage, a black sedan idled, engine purring like a cat with a secret. Marco took the wheel. I sat right behind Dante. He didn't look back. "Who are we meeting?" I asked. "DeSantis," Dante said. "Owns 3 blocks of the river, neutral as a priest until the money moves." "And tonight?" "Tonight he'll try to charge me for my own heir," Dante said. "That seems rude." "It's business," he said. "Rudeness wears a better suit." We rolled out into dusk. The city had dried its hair and painted its mouth red. People laughed under heat lamps. A saxophone bled from a doorway. We slid past it all like a shadow. "Rules," Marco said. "We enter together, we sit where I tell you. You don't drink anything. If I say fall, you're on the floor." "Got it." "Say it," he said. "If you say fall, I hit the floor." "Good girl," he muttered. "I'm not your—" "Enough," Dante said, mild and sharp at once. not angry, final. We reached the river and turned toward a row of brick warehouses that had been turned into glossy restaurants. One had a canopy that still smelled like the 90s. DeSantis liked old things that made him feel timeless. Marco parked in a space no one else would dare take. He scanned, then nodded. 2 outside on the door, 1 at the alley, kitchen vents active, no windows open on the 2nd floor. Dante's hand brushed his cuff. Inside. We stepped into a room that had been a warehouse once and now pretended to be a cathedral to stake. Dark wood, white tablecloths, a wall of wine bottles like stained glass. The maitre d' saw Dante and stopped pretending to be a king. He bowed and led us through. DeSantis waited in a private room with river light behind him, a thick man in a thin suit, rings heavy on his fingers. He stood with a practiced smile. "Dante," he said, "you look well." "I am," Dante said. "And this?" DeSantis looked at me like I was an expensive suitcase. "Assistant," Dante said. I kept my face blank and my hands visible. We sat. Marco took the wall. A server poured water. DeSantis waved him away, then leaned forward, palms open like a benevolent uncle. "My boy," he said to Dante, "I do not enjoy this." "Then don't," Dante said. A flicker in DeSantis' eyes. He smoothed his tie. "The river routes are pressured. New fees, new friends on the docks." "Raphael," Dante said. DeSantis' mouth pulled. "He is enthusiastic." "Rabid," Marco muttered. "You can put on new collars," Dante said to DeSantis, "but your neck stays the same." DeSantis lifted a shoulder. "Times change." "You always say that right before you ask me for something you can't afford," Dante said. "I ask you," DeSantis said, the smile thinning, "to pay for peace." I watched his hands. Rings, a pale line where one had recently been removed. Nervous habit. My wolf lifted its head, sniffed the air that wasn't the air. Something sour rode under the scent of grilling meat. Oil, ozone, cordite ghosting a future that hadn't happened yet. I cleared my throat. "Bathroom?" I asked, too sweet. Dante's eyes slid to mine. Not a question, a calibration. "Go," he said. I stood, smoothed my shirt, and walked out with the calm of someone who definitely wasn't counting steps. The hallway was short. 1 door marked private led back to the kitchen. I slipped in like I carried a tray. Heat punched my face. Pans hissed. Cooks moved like dancers. My senses sharpened without permission. The clatter of metal, the butter burning, the heavy exhale of a walk-in fridge, the whisper of a door that shouldn't have moved. There, back hallway, a shadow cutting light. 2 heartbeats too fast, smell of new leather and gun oil. "Lost," a chef snapped. "Bathroom," I said, pointing to the opposite direction, past the swinging door. He scowled and went back to his steak. I took 3 steps that way, pushed through, then turned a hard left into the back hall. The shadow belonged to a man with a shaved head and a jacket 1 size too big. He froze when he saw me. His hand went under the jacket. I didn't think, I moved. I stumbled like a clumsy girl and slammed my shoulder into a rolling rack of plates. Porcelain cascaded, shattering loud enough to wake the dead. The hallway exploded in noise. The man flinched, hand jerking away from the gun. A cook shouted. The swinging door banged. The shaved head snapped toward the chaos. I ran, not away from him, past him. He reached to snag me. I dug my nails into his wrist and wrenched the way a trapped animal knows how. Pain shot up my arm, but he swore, and that was enough. I slid by and hit the exterior door with my hip. Cold river air slapped me. "Marco," I breathed into the mic. 2 in the back, guns, move. The door at my back shoved. Shaved head burst through, panting. He raised the gun. "Fall," Marco's voice snapped in my ear. I dropped. A crack split the air. The man's head whipped back, then he folded like laundry. I scrambled, grabbed his jacket, and dragged him partially inside. The second man appeared in the door with eyes like coins. He froze at the sight of his friend's blood. Marco's second shot dropped him into the kitchen, screaming. Cooks screamed louder. "Out front," Marco barked. "Now." I ran. I tore through the dining room, past white faces and wine glasses shaking, past a hostess with her hand over her mouth. I hit the private room like a bullet. "Company," I said, breathless, and that was all it took. Dante stood without looking at DeSantis. "We're done." "That wasn't me," DeSantis said quickly, palms up, sweat breaking. "It was your roof," Dante said. We moved. Marco met us at the corridor, gun down, eyes sharp. Back doors hot, out the front. We pushed through the main doors into a slice of night that suddenly felt cleaner than the inside. The valet kid stood rigid, eyes huge, keys white-knuckled. "Give me the black," Marco said. Keys dropped into his palm. Sirens wailed 2 blocks away. Too near for comfort, too far to help. People stopped on the sidewalk, smelling the story. We slid into the car. "Seatbelt," Marco said, already turning the wheel. "Who were they?" I asked. "Not DeSantis," Marco said. "Wrong shoes." "Raphael," Dante said, voice flat. My skin prickled. "He knew you'd be here." "Everyone knows we meet when the calendar says we meet," Dante said. "The trick is knowing who set the calendar." We were 2 blocks from the river when the truck hit us. Metal screamed. My shoulders slammed the door. The world lurched and slid, glass shattered in a rain of stars. Marco swore and fought the wheel. The truck shoved us sideways into a row of trash bins, which went airborne, lids spinning like coins. The car slammed to a stop. "Move," Marco snarled. "Move, move." Men poured off the truck bed like ants off sugar. Black masks, long guns, night swallowed the rest. "Down," Dante said. I ducked as bullets chewed the car. Marco's windows spiderwebbed and blew out. He crouched low, hand flat on the horn, the car screaming while he counted breaths. 3, he said. 2, 1. He popped the door and rolled out. I slid after him, keeping the car between me and the hail. Dante exited my side, low, composed, the way rich men leave limos for galas. "Go left," he said. Left was a narrow alley that smelled like bleach and something dead. I took it, sprinting, heart hammering, ears full of the wrong kind of music. Footsteps pounded behind me, Marco heavy, Dante lighter, controlled. "Stop," Marco snapped suddenly. "Listen." We froze. The street noise died under the hiss of a pressure valve somewhere above us. "Rooftop," I whispered. 2 floors up, east side, rifle, he's waiting for the exit. "How do you?" Marco began. "Because the birds aren't sitting on that ledge," I said. He didn't argue, he pointed right. "Kitchen stairs." We cut under a drooping fire escape into a service door. It opened under my hand, propped with a cigarette. We pushed into a dim corridor with a dirty mop bucket and a bulletin board covered in out-of-date notices. "Up," Dante said, "fast." We took the stairs 2 at a time. 2nd floor hallway, vending machine hum, flicker of fluorescent, a door ajar with blue TV light. I tasted metal in the air and knew the shooter's angle would favor the west exit more than the east. "We can't take the west," I said. "We're not," Dante said. He veered sharp into a dry storage room. Boxes towered like small buildings. A busted skylight leaked the city's breath. He moved through like he'd seen the layout before, put his hands under a stack labeled Polar Soda and pushed. The boxes groaned and toppled between the 2 exits like a barricade. "Marco," he said, 20 seconds. Marco pulled a flare from his jacket, cracked it, and rolled it under the shelving to bleed light where we'd just been. He grabbed my wrist. "Windows." "Those don't open," I said. "They do now." He jabbed the butt of his gun into the latch, then rammed the pane with his shoulder. Glass popped outward and rained to the alley below. "Down the pipe," he said. I looked at the slick metal drain pipe 3 feet beyond the sill. It glistened like a bad idea. "Ladies first," Marco said. I didn't think. I jumped, caught the pipe, slid, boots squealing. It burned my hands. I hit the ground hard enough to jar my spine and rolled. Dante followed, clean and quiet, landing like a cat, his hand on my elbow to haul me up without making it tender. Marco came last, heavier, swearing under his breath. The alley ended in a mouth that spat us onto a parallel street. A bus roared by and threw its shadow over us. Marco snagged the bumper of a delivery van and used it as cover to move us half a block. "Eyes," Marco said. "White coupe corner," I said. Two men pretending to argue. "Not arguing," Marco said. "Counting." A shot cracked from the rooftop we'd avoided. The round punched a neat hole into brick where Dante's head had been, had he chosen the west door. We moved again, down another alley across a loading dock, into a courtyard with rusty bike racks. A woman watered plants like none of it touched her. The city is like that. She hears death and wonders if the basil needs more sun. "Cars?" I asked. "Burned," Marco said. "We're on feet." "Who called this?" I asked. "Raphael," Dante said, the name a curse and a promise. We hit a street with food trucks and fairy lights strung between poles. People laughed at tables. Music bounced. It felt insane to bleed and breathe in the same block. We moved through bodies like ghosts. "Keep your head down," Marco hissed. "Smile if you have to. They don't shoot where phones are out." My palms stung. My shoulder throbbed. My wolf wanted to turn and take teeth to throats. I grinned at a woman holding a corn dog and didn't slow. Dante touched my back once, just between my shoulders, light and precise, guidance, not possession. Heat bloomed under my skin, and I hated that it did. He was too strict, too cold, too used to obedience. But he didn't panic. He didn't shout. He moved like water around rock and expected you to do the same. That counted for something. We cut behind a taco stand and into a parking lot lit by a single buzzing bulb. A car sat there, gray, forgettable. Marco popped the trunk, grabbed a license plate, and snapped it over hours from some universe where we still had a car. "Not ideal," he said, "but nothing tonight is." Dante's phone buzzed. He lifted it face empty. He put it on speaker. A voice spilled out smooth, warm, amused. "Dante." "Raphael," Dante said. My stomach tightened. The voice didn't match the brutality. That was worse. "You never stay where I set the table," Raphael said. "Guests should be grateful." "I sent your RSVP back with 2 of your men," Dante said. Raphael laughed, delighted. "I know, very rude." A car door slammed somewhere near, not ours. Marco's shoulders tensed. "Did you like my truck?" Raphael asked. "I picked it out special. I thought maybe you'd want to see your reflection in it as it kissed your little car." "Careful," Dante said softly. "You're drooling." "You'll learn to respect me," Raphael said, tone still smiling. "Or you'll learn how much blood it takes to wash a city clean." "You can't afford that much bleach," Dante said. "I can afford anything," Raphael said. "Especially you." The line clicked dead. We stood in the humming lot for one small second of held breath. "Drive," Dante said. Marco didn't need telling twice. We piled in, me up front, Dante behind me. Marco eased us out of the lot like an old man out of church, then slid into traffic with eyes that never stopped moving. "Your shoulder," Dante said. "It's fine," I lied. "Let me see," he said. "In the moving car, no." His voice dipped colder. "Aria." I turned a fraction. He took my hand, not rough, not soft, and lifted my palm. The skin was raw, cross-hatched by the pipe. He didn't flinch at the sight. He didn't comment. He pulled a handkerchief from his pocket, black, of course, and wrapped it around my hand with precise fingers. "It'll heal," he said. "I've done worse," I said. "Clearly," he murmured. Marco smirked. "She's not normal." "Not a lot of people hear rifles by listening to pigeons," Dante said, eyes on me. I made my mouth neutral. "City talks if you listen." "What else did it say?" he asked. "That DeSantis knew something and didn't warn you," I said. His hands shook before the back door opened. He knew before we did. Dante's jaw shifted once. "We'll discuss his manners." "And someone fed Raphael your route," I said. "He knew the truck angle, the alley, the pipe." "Inside," Marco muttered. Inside, the word tasted like metal. We drove in silence for a few streets. The adrenaline leaked out of my muscles in cold threads. I didn't shake. I just felt like my tendons had turned to wire. You were good, Dante said finally. I was lucky, I said. Luck is a tool, he said. You used it. He didn't say thank you. Men like him didn't, but the words sat under his tone, invisible and real. We reached the house without sirens on our tail. Gate, courtyard, marble that hadn't noticed our absence. Staff looked up as we entered, eyes wide, then down again like training said. Sophia met us in the hall, read our faces in one glance, and exhaled a curse. You're okay. For the current definition, Marco said. She stepped close and touched my arm, saw the bandage, and squeezed my fingers above it. Kitchen, now, all of you. Dante almost said no. Sophia gave him the look older sisters give idiot brothers. He didn't argue. We sat in a back room that smelled like basil and heat. Bowls hit the table, pasta, bread, water. Marco ate like he'd forgotten he needed food. I ate like I'd never see a plate again. Dante ate like a man who had to remind his body to live. Raphael called, I said between bites. Sophia's eyes flashed. He always loved theatrics. You've met, I asked. Once, she said. He smiled with all his teeth. He's obsessed, I said. Not with power, Dante said quietly. With humiliation. Whose? I asked. Mine, he said. Silence stitched the table. I wiped my mouth, set the napkin down, and met his eyes. I thought you were too strict, I said. I still do. I am, he said. But you don't throw people away for bleeding in your car, I said. That's something. He watched me for a second that felt too naked. Don't mistake function for kindness, he said. I won't, I said. Marco stood, phone vibrating. He checked the screen, then looked at Dante. Call from the docks. DeSantis's men are shifting crates. Now, Dante asked. Right now. Dante wiped his hands, calm again, composed. Matteo. As if summoned, Matteo appeared at the door, tie loosened, smile human. You rang. DeSantis, Dante said. Move on him carefully. Matteo nodded once, the good soldier. I'll have eyes there in 10. He turned to go. I caught it small like a heartbeat, Matteo's gaze flicking to my bandaged hand. Concern, then to Dante, calculation, then back to me, warm again. Rest, he said gently. You'll need it. He left. The room felt different when he was gone. Not colder, not warmer, just thinner. Sophia touched my shoulder. Shower, clean that, I'll get antiseptic. I'm fine, I said. Don't argue, she said. I stood. Dante stood too. You did your job, he said. So did you, I said. We held that for a beat. The buzz between us tightened, annoying, inconvenient, real. He was still a cage with a crown. But tonight I'd seen the man who set himself between bullets and his people without flinching. The line wasn't straight anymore. I hated that. Aria, he said softly as I turned. I looked back. Don't die, he said. I haven't finished testing you. A laugh tugged my mouth. You're terrible at compliments. I don't give them, he said. Then what was that? Rules, he said. I left with a heartbeat louder than it should have been. In the hall, the house hummed its night song, footsteps, radios, doors. A guard spoke into his sleeve. The clock ticked. Somewhere a phone rang and stopped. I rounded the corner and nearly collided with Lena, the kitchen girl. She held a bottle of antiseptic and gauze like a trophy. For you, she said. You didn't have to. It's fine, she said, eyes on my hand. She poured a little on the gauze and pressed it gentle. It stung like truth. Everyone says you're brave, she added, barely above a whisper. Everyone, I asked. Be at the flower shop called my cousin, she blushed. News moves. How does it move? I asked, too easy. Voices, she said. Radios, drivers, people who like to talk. People inside, I asked. Her eyes flicked left, right. I should get back, she murmured and fled. I watched her go, the antiseptic biting my palm. Voices, radios, drivers. The leak wasn't in the walls, it was in the mouths that lived here. I headed for the stairs, the house breathing around me, the city humming beyond the glass. The wolf in me paced and sighed and finally lay down. Raphael wanted Dante humiliated. DeSantis wanted to live under the biggest shadow. Someone inside wanted to be useful to the wrong man. And Dante Moretti, the cage with a crown, had looked at me in a bloody alley and wrapped my hand like it mattered. I didn't take interest, not yet, but I didn't hate the heat in my chest as much as I should have. Outside, a siren wailed and faded. Inside, a clock ticked once, loud as a gunshot. This wasn't the end of the night. It was just the next breath. I headed for the stairs with my palm wrapped tight and the antiseptic sting still singing. The house breathed around me, soft radios, the thud of a distant door, a low voice on a phone that cut off mid-syllable. I took the first step up. Aria. I stopped. Dante stood at the end of the corridor, one shoulder against the wall as if he'd grown there while I blinked. Suit jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled, throat open at the collar, calm like winter water. You should rest, he said. I will. Now, he said. After I wash the city off, I said. His eyes flicked to my bandage. You cleaned that. Sophia's orders. Lena brought supplies. He pushed off the wall, closed the distance in 5 slow steps. He didn't rush. He just arrived. Let me see, he said. I'm fine. Let me see, he repeated, softer, not asking. I held my hand out. He took it, not rough, not soft, precise. His thumb pressed the edge of the wrap, checking for bleed. He didn't flinch at the skin or the raw lines. He lifted his gaze to mine. You grab hot metal like it's a rope, he said. I like not falling. You don't, he said. You like never being caught. I pulled my hand back. That too. He didn't move. I didn't either. The air stretched thin until I could hear the clock at the end of the hall count its own heart. Walk, he said. Where? Office. No time gap, no breath, I went. His office smelled like cedar and rain. The city pressed its lights against the glass. The winter forest painting watched us both like it knew a secret. He closed the door. The latch clicked like a trigger pulled and held. Talk, he said. About what? About how you heard a rifle by watching pigeons, he said. About how you moved in a kitchen you never seen. About how you walk into rooms already counting exits. Maybe I'm smart. You're something, he said. Let's pretend I'm gifted. I don't pretend, he said. I leaned a hip on the edge of his desk. Then say what you think. You read air, he said. You feel angles, you react before thought. That's not training, that's instinct. Instinct is learned. Not like that, he said. He stepped closer. What are you? Tired, I said. Don't, he warned. Hungry, I said. He didn't look away. What are you, Aria? Your runner, I said, for now. He crossed the last foot between us. The city lit the outline of his jaw. My wolf rose, ears pricked, breath low and quiet, wanting out and hatting wanting. He braced one hand on the desk near my hip and the other on the wood to my right, caging me without touching me. His heat pressed in. His voice stayed quiet. I don't like blind spots, he said. You're a blind spot with legs. Cute, I said steady. Write it on a birthday cake. Tell me the truth. I told you the truth. All of it. Enough of it. His gaze slipped to my mouth and back to my eyes so fast I almost missed it. Almost. Heat slid under my skin like a slow spark. I hated it. I didn't move away. You don't scare me, I said. I'm not trying to, he said. Liar. He smiled a fraction. If I wanted to scare you, Aria, I wouldn't need to stand this close. Then why stand this close? To see if you flinch, he said. I held his gaze until my pulse stamped a bruise behind my ear. I don't flinch. He leaned in a degree, testing the line. My wolf pushed against my ribs, hot, restless. My nails bit my palm through the wrap. I let a breath out slow so it didn't shake. You climbed down a slick pipe without thinking, he murmured. You counted a rifle you didn't see. You smelled men before they rounded a corner. That's not luck. That's not city tricks. Maybe I grew up feral, I said. His jaw worked once. Maybe you did. We were a breath apart now. Cold window at my back, heat in front. I could feel the little nick at his throat where a razor had missed a hair. See the softness at the corner of his mouth that never showed when he spoke. Electrostatic lifted the tiny hairs along my arms. Tell me, he said. No, I said. His eyes cooled, but his voice didn't. Then don't lie to me. I haven't. If I catch you lying. You'll end me, I said. I heard your rules. He held the inside of my gaze like a hook holds a fish. And if I protect you, he said, you don't spit at my hand. I didn't, I said. Good, he said, and stepped back a fraction. The room remembered how to breathe. The door knocked, soft and polite. It opened a hand's width without waiting for an answer. Forgive me, Mateo said, voice low. He didn't look surprised to find us close. He didn't look interested either. He carried a slim folder and a glass of water. I saw your light. You watch my lights? Dante asked. I watch everything, Mateo said with a small smile. He set the water on the desk near my hip and slid the folder to Dante. DeSantis moved 2 crates. One contained exactly what you suspected. The other was empty and loudly labeled, as if he wanted you to stare at it. Distraction, Dante said. Mateo said. Also, Simon didn't clock in for his night shift. Find him, Dante said. I am, Mateo said, then turned those soft brown eyes to me. How's the hand? Stings, I said. He nodded, gentle. Pain is honest. He glanced between us like measuring tension for a patient's chart. You should rest, Aria. The house is heavy at night. It's heavy in daylight, too, I said. He smiled with his mouth, not his eyes. True, but nights are when this city picks who breaks. He lowered his voice a notch like a confidant in a church pew. Be careful of the ways it asks. Dante watched him as if counting pulses. Mateo turned back, as if feeling the weight, and spoke in a tone only I was meant to catch. He is fair, Mateo said, tiny nod toward Dante. But fairness isn't softness. It isn't safety. Don't confuse the 3. I don't, I said. Good, he breathed. If you ever feel cornered, you come to me first. I'm the door that opens. His words were balm. They also felt like a hand guiding me onto a marked square on a chessboard. I filed both feelings away. Dante opened the folder, scanned once and shut it. Leave it. Mateo inclined his head. Try to sleep, he told me again, quiet and kind. Then he left like smoke. Silence filled in. The water ringed with tiny bubbles, as if it had something to say. What did he just try to do? Dante asked. Be kind, I said. He gave me a look. Mateo is kind the way surgeons are kind. Cut to heal. Cut to see, he said. The healing is optional. You don't trust him, I said. I trust him to be himself, he said. And who is that? The man who keeps my calendar on time, he said, and a door that always opens the way he wants it to. Good to know, I said. He studied me like he could see the words settling in. You're not normal, he said again, softer. And I don't mean the kind of not normal everyone here is. Yours is different. Maybe I'm unlucky, I said. Unlucky doesn't smell like the wind, he said. I blinked. What? He didn't repeat it. He reached for the edge of my bandage again, thumb pressing the knot. A simple touch. A precise one. It shouldn't have sparked. It did. Sleep, he said. If I can, I said. You can, he said. I'll make sure of it. That sounds like a threat. It's a promise, he said, then added, almost bored, and a threat. I slid off the desk. We were closer than polite again. I stepped left. He stepped the same direction. We almost collided. He didn't move away. You think I'm a blind spot, I said. For now, he said. You hate blind spots, I said. Yes, he said. So why keep me near? I asked. His gaze dropped to my mouth again, brief as a blink. When he looked back at my eyes, his answer was plain. "Because I want to know what you are," he said, "and because you make me harder to kill." "That a compliment?" I asked. "Don't get used to it," he said. "Wasn't planning to." He stepped back first this time. The light outside had shifted from gold to steel. Far below, a siren bled into the city's hum and thinned out. "Go," he said. "I have calls." I left before he changed his mind, or I did. The hall felt colder. I passed a window and caught my reflection, hair damp, eyes too bright, bandage stark. The wolf's shadow moved behind my eyes like a tide under moonlight. I steadied my breath until it settled. My room was exactly as I'd left it, neat, bare, waiting. I locked the door, clicked the bathroom light, and let hot water drum the city from my skin. When the mirror fogged, I cleared a small circle and met my own stare. My pupils were too wide. My teeth felt too sharp. I breathed slow. Human, stay human. A soft knock barely kissed the door. "Yeah," I called, towel around my neck. "It's me," Mateo said, voice muffled and gentle. "I have something for your hand." I cracked the door. He held a small tube of ointment and a roll of clean gauze. "Antibiotic," he said. "Less sting than the kitchen brand." "Thanks," I said. He didn't leave. He looked down the hall, then back to me, lowered his voice to a whisper that warmed the skin. "Be careful where you put your trust," he said. "Dante protects his house, always, but his house is not the same as his people." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means," he said, eyes soft and sad, "he'll let a person drown to keep the roof dry." He pressed the ointment into my palm. "If it's ever you or the house, come to me." "You want me to come to you first," I said. "I want you alive," he said, and the way he said it sounded like truth. It also sounded like a hook baited with meat. "Good night, Mateo," I said. "Good night, Aria," he whispered. He walked away without looking back. I shut the door, clicked the lock. The wolf paced once and lay down, grumbling. I dressed the hand again, stared at the black night outside my window, and listened to the house settle bones. The phone buzzed on my table. The cheap flip, a text from an unknown number that wasn't unknown. "Kitchen, now." "Sophia." I slipped on soft shoes and opened the door. The hallway was empty except for the camera eye in the corner, red and patient. I moved quiet as the thought I wasn't ready to admit. In the back hall outside the kitchen, Sophia waited with 2 mugs and a frown. "Trouble?" I asked. "Always," she said, passing me a mug. "Lena heard something by the loading dock, 2 drivers talking. They said new route and RAF." My chest went cold. "When?" "10 minutes," she said. "Mateo," looking for Simon. "Marco is on the cameras. Dante on the phone with a judge he owns." She swallowed. "We're leaking again, Aria." "Inside," I said. "Inside," she echoed. A crate thumped on the loading ramp. A radio crackled. Laughter cut off fast. I met Sophia's eyes over the mug steam. "Stay with me," she said. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. The house held its breath with us. Far away, a clock ticked once, loud as a hammer. The night pulled tight like wire. And somewhere between the walls and the mouths, a new root whispered Raphael's name. Steam curled from our mugs while the loading dock murmured. Radio static. A crate thud. A laugh that died too fast. "Stay with me," Sophia said again, softer. "I'm here," I said. Footsteps clipped toward us. Dante turned the corner with Marco at his shoulder and Mateo a pace behind, each of them already reading the hall before they saw us. Dante's gaze took in the mugs, the loading ramp, my bandage, Sophia's tight jaw. "Drivers?" he asked. "2, said new route and RAF," Sophia answered. Dante's expression didn't change. "Thank you." "We should cancel tonight," Marco said. "Shrink the target." "No," Dante said. "We grow the room, make them show their face." Sophia glanced at me, then back at her brother. "You want to throw a party." "I am throwing a party," he said, "on schedule." His eyes met mine a beat too long. "You'll be there." "As staff?" I asked. As mine, he said, the words calm, and that was somehow louder. Mateo's voice threaded in, warm and practical. We keep the guest list clean. No plus ones, extra metal detectors. No one brings a phone to the floor. And the drivers, Marco pressed. I'll handle the dock, Mateo said. You handle the doors. Dante tapped my mug, then tapped the rim of Sophia. Finish those, get dressed. No time gap, I said. No time gap, he agreed. The house changed within the hour. Silk draped the staircase like water. White lilies and black calla lilies showed up in tall glass vases. Staff rolled in chrome drink carts. Strings rehearsed in the gallery, clean, bright notes that made a lie of the night. Security doubled and then doubled again. Wands hummed at the back entrance. The driveway glowed under soft lamps and a precise line of valets. Sophia dragged me into her room and held up 2 dresses. Pick, she said. Not because he asked, because you'll want armor. Cloth is armor, I asked. People see what we choose to show them, she said. Choose power. I ran a finger over the fabric, one deep green, one black as a raven's wing. The black would vanish in shadows. The green would make my eyes louder. Black, I said. She smiled like I passed a test. I'll meet you downstairs. I changed. The dress hugged without screaming. It allowed movement important. I slipped my knife into a band at my thigh and checked the slit, enough room to run. My hair I kept simple, away from my face. The bandage I rewrapped clean, thin enough to hide under a cuff. The mirror showed me a version of myself I hadn't seen in a long time. A girl who could pass for harmless while planning exits in her head. I stepped into the corridor and almost collided with Mateo. He looked, then smiled that human, warming smile. Perfect, he said lightly. You look like a whisper and a rule at the same time. Is that a compliment? It's a forecast, he said, offering an earpiece on a black velvet pad like jewelry. Left ear, channel 3, if I say curtain, you go still. Still. Still, he said, as in statue. Copy, I said. And Aria, his voice softened. If anything feels wrong, don't be brave, be alive. I slid the earpiece in. I specialize in alive. His eyes held mine a second too long, like he wanted to add something. Then he moved on, greeting a florist with a nod that made the man stand taller. Downstairs, the mansion breathed a different air, champagne, expensive perfume, polished floor wax. Guests flowed in, charity boards, art darlings, city council members who smiled like they own mornings, old men with new teeth, women with eyes like knives. Dante took the room the way a sea takes a shoreline, without asking permission. I watched him from the edge of the crowd as he greeted donors with that cool half-smile, shook a judge's hand with just enough pressure to make the man check his watch, accepted praise and envy like both were weather. People leaned in, as if the warmth of him lived 2 inches closer to his skin. He looked like power dressed itself and came to drink under a chandelier. He caught me watching. Our eyes held a second. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. He simply started moving toward me through the flood of silk and black suits, and the flood parted. When he stopped an arm's length away, the noise around us thinned. Aria, he said. Dante, I said. His gaze flicked down and up, fast, taking inventory, not indulging. You'll stay with Sophia most of the night. When I call, you come. Like a dog, I asked, mild. He didn't blink, like a runner. The string quartet shifted into something golden. A cluster of city officials laughed loudly near the bar. My earpiece hummed. Front clear, Marco's voice said in my ear. Back clear, dock in motion. Copy, Mateo's voice replied, calm as tea. Keep the floor moving. Dance with me, Dante said. I blinked at him. What? Optics, he said. The house smiles better when I do. Then smile at someone who likes you for free. His mouth almost did that not smile. I don't like free. He extended a hand. The room watched without watching. I put my fingers in his. Heat, strength, a pulse steady and slow. He led me to the floor, and the quartet obligingly melted into a waltz like they'd been waiting for the cue. We moved. His hand settled at my waist, possessive only in the way of gravity. He guided without forcing. I matched him beat for beat, reading the room over his shoulder. Exits, guards, a man who laughed too loud, a woman who didn't touch her drink. "You move like someone who learned in halls, not studios," he murmured. "I learned by staying on my feet," I said. "Elegant strategy." "Efficient," I said. Our steps found a rhythm that felt less like dancing and more like sparring dressed in silk. I didn't let him lead fully. He didn't let me pretend I wasn't following. The space between us charged and thinned until I could feel the breath leave him before it did. "You should cancel," I said quietly. "Someone's going to try something." "They already are," he said. "I prefer it where I can see the chandeliers sway." "Chandeliers don't block bullets," I said. "I do," he said, and it wasn't bravado. It was a man who had done it. He spun me easy, precise. When I came back too close, he didn't step away. His breath touched my cheek. My wolf lifted its head. I kept the snarl inside and the sigh. He leaned in the smallest amount. "Why do I want to ask what you are when I already know the answer will cost me?" "Then don't ask," I said. He laughed, quiet, rare. "I don't like not knowing." "Learn patience," I said. "I learned hunger instead," he said, and for a heartbeat the room fell away, and it was just two people who didn't sleep much anymore. "Curtain," Matteo said in my ear, velvet suddenly steel. I went still. Dante's hand tightened at my waist, a warning and a question. I didn't speak. The room moved in slow frames for me. A server who'd been too smooth all night angled past the bar. A guest in a silver dress paused under the chandelier and glanced up. The back doors breathed colder air and then closed as if a hand had tested them. In my ear, Marco. "West Lawn Gate is open 3 inches. We didn't open it." "Matteo, close it slow." Dante's mouth didn't move. "Status." I kept my lips from shaping the word. "Breath holding," I murmured, too soft for human ears. He heard it anyway. He always seemed to hear me. "Pretend to laugh," he said. I did. He did. The chandelier glittered like a cluster of cold stars. "Gate secured," Marco said. "Matteo, thank you, floor resumes." "Resume," Dante said, and we did. We danced until the quartet slid into another piece, and the room's collective tension forgot it had been there. He released me slowly, like he didn't like giving things back. "Stay visible," he said. "I was planning on hiding behind a fern," I said. "Don't," he said. "Bossy." "Effective," he said, and left to shake a donor's hand. Sophia appeared at my elbow with a glass of water. "Drink. You look like you're holding your breath." "I am," I said, sipping. She leaned in. Marco closed a gate. Matteo smiled like the sun came out. "I don't trust sunny nights." "Me neither," I said. Her smile slipped, then returned. "He looked at you like," she shook her head. "Never mind, keep your head. If you need me, tug your left earring." "Left," I repeated. She vanished into a knot of board members. I shifted to the edge of the floor where I could see everything. The entrance, the bar, the doors to the garden, the sweep of stairs where security watched without blinking. "Curtain," Matteo said again, softer now. I went still. The hair along my arms prickled. "Where?" Marco asked. "Garden," Matteo said. "Lights flickered once, west pergola." I started moving before I told myself to. Dante saw me go and replaced my place with a nod, as if we'd rehearsed it. I slipped through the doors into the cool night air. The garden smelled like lilac and wet stone. Fairy lights laced the hedges. A pond mirrored the string of stars pretending to be tame. 2 guards stood where they should. One looked too relaxed. "Evening," I said lightly. "Ma'am," the guard said. The other didn't answer. He had that deep stillness posture men get when they're listening to something else inside their ear. "Cold night," I said. "Not really," he said, too flat. I stepped close like I was looking at the fairy lights. His boots were wrong, new soles, not the house standard. His scent was wrong too, cologne too sharp, the ghost of oil under it. "Marco," I whispered, Guest boots in the garden. Location, Marco murmured. I had no time to answer. The fake guard, moved. His hand went toward his jacket. I didn't reach for my knife. I reached for his wrist and twisted, hard and exact. The gun clattered onto the stones. I kicked it under the hedge. He slammed me back into a column and tried to headbutt me. I ducked. His shoulder hit stone. He grunted, went for my throat. I let him get close and brought my knee up. He folded enough for me to shove him into the pond. Water swallowed him with a splash big enough to wake the koi. The real guard had his weapon out now, eyes on shadows. More, he hissed. 2, I said. Maybe 3. 3, Marco confirmed in my ear. Coming over the west wall. Move. Dante appeared in the doorway, calm as a painting. Our eyes locked. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. Inside now, he said. The garden exploded. 3 figures in dark clothes broke from hedges like wolves from brush. One fired wild. The other 2 moved like professionals, trained, narrow, fast. Guests screamed inside. Glass shattered, music died. I broke a heel and didn't care. I sprinted toward Dante as a bullet cut the air where my shoulder had been. He reached for me. I grabbed his arm and yanked him the wrong way, away from the doors, into the shadow of a statue. He didn't argue. We hit stone and slid down behind the base as rounds chewed the doorway instead of his chest. In, he breathed. Not that way, I said, because the angle was wrong, the sound was wrong. The gunfire echo said rooftop, not hedge. Rooftop, he asked, reading me now. South corner, I said. He nodded once. Marco, roof. Already moving, Marco said, too steady. Another shot crackled, silenced but not invisible. Stones spat near Dante's head. I didn't think. I moved. I shoved him flat and covered his chest with mine, using the statue base as a low shield. The round whined off marble instead of bone. His breath hit my neck. Mine hit his collar. He didn't push me off. He didn't make a sound. You're insane, he said quietly. Alive, I said. He angled his head, reading the line beyond my shoulder. On 3, he murmured. We moved to the left column, you lead. Me. You hear better, he said. I didn't correct him. We rolled on 3. Bullets chewed where we'd been. I grabbed his sleeve and dragged him behind the second column, then the third, heartbeat dictating counts. 2 beats move, 3 beats pause. The rooftop angle shifted. I shifted with it, dragging him through space like I'd walked this pattern in my sleep for years. Aria, he said, and it wasn't a warning. It was a measure of awe I pretended not to hear. Closer, the door. I saw our path, 5 strides angled left, then a hard cut, then a low push through the threshold. Now, I whispered. We went. A round tore a lily to petals behind us. We hit the door. I shoved him through first, then followed, catching the brass with my hand so it didn't slam. Pain flashed up my palm. I didn't drop the handle. Inside, panic bounced off marble. Security moved to funnel guests toward the ballroom. Sophia's voice rose firm and calm, guiding like a lighthouse. The quartet stood with their instruments pressed to their chests, stunned and silent. Second team, Marco said in my ear. Roof secure, shooter down. Garden, Matteo asked, voice still velvet, but the underthread pulled tight. 2 runners, Marco said. 1 wet, 1 gone. Seal the west hall, Dante said, already back to ice. His hand came to the small of my back, a brief press that was not possession and not nothing. Walk. We moved with purpose through a room that pretended it had not just swallowed fear. Dante's face gave absolutely nothing away. Mine probably still had shards of night on it. Staff met our eyes and looked away. Guests told each other lies about fireworks. In the side hall, away from eyes, he stopped. For a second we were alone except for a painting of a winter forest that had followed me into every room. He turned me gently and caught my wrist, peeling my fingers open. A red line sliced my palm where brass had bit. You bleed a lot for someone who won't admit she's breakable, he said. I don't break, I said. You do, he said softly, but you hide it fast. He pulled his handkerchief again, black on black, and wrapped my palm the way he had before, precise and steady. His head was bent. His jaw was a line. I watched his mouth, the small crease that came when he focused. Something ached under my ribs that wasn't injury. "Thank you," I said low. He finished the knot and met my eyes. "Don't thank me for keeping my assets alive." "That a demotion?" I asked, because banter was safer than whatever this was. "Promotion," he said, tone dry. "Assets don't argue." "I'll try not to disappoint," I said. "Don't," he said, but his mouth eased a fraction. The earpiece ticked. Mateo's voice slid in, gentle as always. "Floor's calm, guests soothed. One of the drivers is missing." "Simon," I said. A pause. "Yes," Mateo said. "We'll find him." Dante released my hand and straightened his cuffs like he hadn't just been under fire. "Back to work," he said. "You're going back out there?" I asked. "The house smiles better when I do," he said, echoing himself without humor. "Then I'll stand where you can see me," I said. He held my gaze an extra second. "Do that." We moved toward the ballroom, the music starting again as if the quartet could stitch the night back together. At the threshold, he paused, then leaned close enough that his breath warmed my ear. "You saved my life," he said. "Don't do it in a way that makes me owe you." "Too late," I whispered. He almost smiled. Almost. Then he walked into the room like a storm in a suit, and the crowd remembered how to breathe. I stayed in the doorway, watching him command a room that wanted to worship him and ruin him in the same breath. The wolf inside me pressed against my ribs, wild and proud and hungry. I'd moved like a creature I wasn't supposed to be tonight. If he'd noticed, he didn't say it. But he looked at me once across a sea of silk and eyes and money, and the question in his gaze burned hotter than the bullet that missed him. "What are you?" I didn't blink. I didn't answer. I just stood where he could see me. The ballroom still pulsed with half-hearted laughter, as if fear could be drowned by champagne. Dante moved among the guests, all charm and control again, and I stood by the marble arch like the shadow I was meant to be. My palm throbbed under the black cloth. Every eye followed him, every lie smiled back, and somewhere among them, someone had let the wolves inside. Marco's voice murmured in my earpiece, "West Garden clear, shooter dead, but there's chatter we're being watched from outside the gates." "Keep the perimeter tight," Dante said without moving his lips. He lifted a glass in a mock toast to a senator, and the senator nearly bowed. I stayed still, watching. He was too composed, too sure. You couldn't tell by looking that 10 minutes ago he'd almost taken a bullet. He carried danger like a man who'd made peace with it long ago. When the party began thinning out, I stepped closer. "They'll write this off as fireworks and nerves." "They'll write what I tell them to," he said. "Must be nice," I said. He looked at me over the rim of his glass. "Power isn't nice. It's quiet until someone tries to take it." "Sounds lonely." "Only if you're weak," he said, and yet something in his tone wasn't conviction. It was memory. I wanted to ask what loneliness had made him this sharp, but Mateo's voice cut in through the calm, smooth as velvet. "Guests exiting, west perimeter clear." However, Raphael's name was whispered twice at the bar, once by a woman in silver. "The same woman who didn't drink?" I asked. "Yes," Mateo said. "I'll find her." Dante's jaw tightened. "Find her alive." The connection clicked out. He set down his glass. "Come with me." I followed him out of the ballroom, past the last of the guests, and into the quiet of the corridor where the music was only an echo. The chandeliers above us glowed like captured moons. "Why me?" I asked. He didn't stop walking. "Because you see things. Things no one else does." "Things I don't," he said, and there it was again, that edge of frustration and fascination woven together. He stopped outside his office, opened the door, and motioned for me to enter. The fire in the corner flickered across the room, catching the lines of his face. "Sit," he said. "No," I said. He arched a brow, defiant again. "I've had enough commands for one night." "Then consider this a question." I crossed my arms. "Ask." He took a slow step closer. "Who are you?" You know who I am. I know your name, he said, but names lie, bodies don't. He reached for my hand, the bandaged one, and turned it palm up. You caught brass at the door. You should have screamed. Most people would have. I'm not most people. No, he said softly. You're not. He dropped my hand and circled me, slow, deliberate. You fight like someone trained to hide what she is. You hear things no one else hears. You smell danger before it arrives. Are you military? No. Special ops, intelligence. Do I look like I wear a badge? You look like you survived something, he said, and that makes me wonder what it was. I swallowed the growl that wanted to climb my throat. Maybe I'm just good at staying alive. He stopped behind me, voice low against my neck. That's not just skill, that's instinct, animal instinct. The words hit too close. My pulse spiked. I stepped forward away from him, forcing space. You're imagining things. Am I? He said. Because every time danger comes, you move before anyone else. That's not training, Aria, that's something else. I turned, glare sharp. You think I'm one of your spies, or a traitor? I think, he said, stepping close again, you're the only person in this house I can't read. And that makes me either fascinated or very stupid. Maybe both, I said. His hand lifted like he might touch my face, but stopped short. The air between us burned. Stop trying to dissect me, I said, breath low. You can't own what you don't understand. He leaned in just enough for his voice to sink under my skin. Then make me understand. Our eyes locked, silence stretched. I could hear my heartbeat, and his steady but louder now. For a second, I thought he'd close the space between us, and I wasn't sure if I'd stop him. The intercom crackled. Marco's voice snapped through. Boss, movement on the east wall. 2 vehicles stopped outside the gate. Dante's body went rigid, controls snapping back in place. He pressed the comm. Lockdown, no one in or out. On it. He turned back to me, the moment gone but not forgotten. Stay inside. I can help. You've helped enough for one night, he said and strode out, door slamming behind him. I stood there a moment, pulse still drumming, the ghost of his heat on my skin. Don't follow him, Matteo's voice said behind me. I spun. He leaned against the doorframe, all calm and sympathy. You'll only make him worse. You're everywhere, I said. It's part of the job. He stepped inside, lowering his voice. He's losing control, Aria. You see it, don't you? I see a man trying to keep his house from burning. And you think that fire won't reach you? Matteo asked softly. He's drawn to you, but Dante's kind of care is poison. He will protect you until the day it costs him power, and then he'll trade you for peace. I stared at him. You sound certain. I've watched him do it before. His eyes dropped to my wrapped hand. You're too good to be a casualty of his empire. I can take care of myself, I said. I don't doubt it, he murmured, but you shouldn't have to. He reached out like he might touch my cheek, then seemed to think better of it. If you ever want a way out, tell me. I can make it happen. Before I could answer, Marco's voice crackled through the comm again. All clear. False alarm, delivery trucks rerouted. East gate secured. Dante's reply came cool. Good, keep watch. Matteo smiled faintly. See, always in control until he's not. He turned toward the door. Think about what I said. He left, footsteps fatting. I didn't move for a long time. Matteo's words gnawed at me, but something about them rang too polished, like a script practiced in front of a mirror. I stepped into the hall. The house felt different, too quiet, like it was listening. My instincts buzzed, sharp and wrong. I started toward the stairs, intending to find Sophia, but the lights flickered once and my skin prickled. Voices whispered near the side gallery, low, male. I followed the sound. The hallway opened into a narrow space behind the wine room. The smell hit me first, gun oil, fresh leather. She's the one, a voice said. Raphael wants proof, another replied. Says she's special, get her alive. My pulse spiked. I stepped back, but my heel hit the edge of a crate. It scraped. Silence. Then movement. I ran. Down the corridor, through the servants' passage, past a line of mirrors that caught flashes of motion behind me. A shout, boots pounding. "Aria," Marco's voice barked through the comm. "Where are you?" "Wine hall, back corridor." Static. The line went dead. I burst into the courtyard. The night air slapped cold against my face. Headlights flared from the driveway, 2 vans, doors already open. I sprinted toward the gate, but figures poured out, dark-clad, fast. One lunged. I ducked, drove my elbow into his ribs, kicked his knee out. Another grabbed my arm. I twisted, slammed my head back, broke free. Then a needle sting bit my neck. I ripped it out, staggered, but the world tilted. Lights blurred. Through the haze, I saw Dante at the top of the stairs, shouting my name. Then Matteo, a silhouette in the doorway, unmoving. My vision narrowed to a tunnel. The van door yawned open. Hands pulled me inside. The last thing I saw was Dante running toward me, too late. The world went black. Blackness bucked and rolled. Voices dragged me up like hooks under my skin. "Wake her." Cold water hit my face. I gasped. The world snapped into a hard, ugly focus, concrete ceiling, a single bulb, shadows like teeth. My wrists were pulled behind the back of a metal chair. Ankles taped to the legs. The room stank of bleach and old fear. 2 men stood in front of me, masks up, faces bare, young, mean, eager to impress. A third hung back by the door with a clipboard. The walls sweated. Somewhere far off, a generator coughed. "Hi," I said, voice dry. "Nice Dacre." "Funny," the eager one said. He had a thin scar at his lip, a cheap watch, and the kind of nerves that shake after the first hit. "You run fast." "I like living." He backhanded me, clean, practiced. My head rocked. I blinked the stars away and swallowed copper. No screaming, no gore, stay upright. The man with the clipboard spoke at last, quiet and precise. "You work for Morty. We want names, doors, codes. Give them to us and this is easy." "You kidnapped the wrong hostess," I said. He studied me like a scientist pins a moth. "You were targeted," he said. "Not a mistake." "Feels special," Scarlip added. "Where are we?" I asked, buying heartbeat time. Clipboard smiled a fraction. "By the river, close enough to hear him when he comes, far enough to finish before he does." So they expected Dante. Good, keep them looking outward. He nodded at Scarlip. A punch landed under my ribs. Air left my body. I dragged it back and stared at the bulb until the room steadied. "You don't look like a fighter," Scarlip said. "I'm not." "You fought 3 of ours." "I tripped," I said. "Lucky me." Clipboard tapped his pen. "You don't smell scared." That scraped over my skin. "You smell weird too," I said. "Like spray paint and bad decisions." The third man, tall, quiet, the one by the door, spoke for the first time. "Raph says she isn't normal." Raphael. So the voice from the phone owned their tongues too. "Raph says a lot of things," I said. Scarlip leaned in, too close. "What are you?" "Hungry." Clipboard's eyes sharpened. "He wants her alive," he told the others. "Not broken, not yet. Test, don't ruin." He pulled a small metal case from his pocket, opened it like a jeweler. Inside, a thin band, dull gray, ugly. He held it up. "Bracelet," he said. The metal sang in my nose before it touched me. Not sound. Smell. Wrong, cold in a way that bit memory. Silver. My scar at the hip burned like it remembered fire. "No, not that. Not again." He reached for my wrist. I yanked away as far as the tape would let me. "Hold her," Clipboard said. Scarlip grabbed my forearm. The quiet one held my shoulder. Clipboard snapped the band around my wrist. It touched skin. Pain lit every nerve white. "No screaming. No gore. Don't give them the show." I held my breath so hard my vision tunneled, swallowed the sound my throat tried to birth, and counted backward from 5. Wolf roared under my ribs, out, 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 but the silver pressed down, a silent command. Stay. Clipboard watched my face. Interesting. Scarlip grinned. That hurt. Did it? I croaked. I thought it was a friendship bracelet. The quiet one studied the band's seam, then my eyes. Something uncertain moved in his. He stepped back. Clipboard's voice stayed light. "We can do this many ways," he said. "The worst ones waste time. I prefer clean. Tell me how Dante secures the west gate." "Locks," I said. "What kind?" "The kind that lock." Another strike. My lips split. I let the blood sit, a red coin on the edge of my mouth, and didn't lick it clean. You taste that, you remember other things. I didn't need the reminder. Clipboard tried a different angle. "Who in the house likes you?" "No one." "Who do you like?" "No one." "Who does Dante listen to?" "No one." "Even his sister?" My eyes flickered before I could stop them. He caught it. He breathed. "Sophia." "Leave her out of your mouth," I said. "You're in no position to bargain," he said gently. "You're in the wrong room if you think fear works on me," I said, gentler. He considered that, then nodded to Scarlip again. The next strike went higher. My chair scraped concrete. The wolf hammered bone from the inside, furious, awake. "Not yet," I told it. "Don't you dare, not for them, not like this." Boots scuffed outside the door. More men, a buzz of radios. Clipboard checked his watch. "Raph will want to see her himself," he said, "but we'll run a few more tests." He set the case down and took out a second band. This one was thinner, coiled like wire. "Ankles," he said. The quiet one hesitated. He said alive. "She'll be alive," Clipboard said, patient. "We're verifying." He crouched and reached for my bare ankle. "Stop," I said. He paused, penning the moment, curious. "Yes." "You put that on me," I said, voice flat, and I stopped being polite. Scarlip sneered. "She thinks manners are shields." Clipboard's smile didn't change. "I think she's warning us she's more dangerous than she looks." He clipped the wire. It kissed skin. The world howled. A sound tore out of me, small, feral, almost not human, almost not there. I slammed my teeth together until I tasted blood and stared at the bulb until it was a sun. The wolf hit the bars hard enough to rattle bone. "Change," it screamed. "Change or die." Claws scratched along my inner ribs, desperate, ancient. "Not here," I told it. "Not in their hands, not with their cameras." I breathed in through my nose and counted the separate heartbeats in the room. 3. And outside 2 more, and down the hall a 6th who paced. Clipboard heard my breath settle and stilled. "Better," he murmured. "You adjust fast." He glanced at the quiet one. "She hears things." Scarlip leaned in, breath hot. "Tell us the gate codes and I'll take those off." "How generous," I said. "And after that, a cookie." "After that," Clipboard said calmly, "we let you live." "Raph doesn't let anyone live," I said. "You assume he's cruel," Clipboard said. "I know he's bored," I said. "Those are the worst men. They ruin cities for a hobby." He nodded once, almost respectful. "You do see things." The door at his back opened a slit. A new voice slid in smooth, delighted, poison wrapped in silk. "Is our guest behaving?" "Raphael." Clipboard straightened as if the air itself took rank. "She's interesting." I kept my eyes on the bulb. If I looked at him, I'd see the phone smile I'd heard, and I might forget the rules. "Let me see," Raphael said. He stepped into my peripheral vision. Expensive shoes, a precise cuff, a cologne that tried too hard to be gentle. He crouched like we were at a party and his joke had landed. "You," he said, amused. "Morty's little mystery." "I don't even work there," I said. "You work him," Raphael said, smile widening. "That's better." He tipped my chin up with 2 fingers. I kept my face blank and my eyes cold. He looked into them like he expected to see his reflection. "What are you?" he asked softly. "Hungry," I said again. He laughed, delighted. "Oh, you'll do." He tapped the silver band at my wrist. "This bothers you." "It's ugly," I said. "So is power," he said. "But it works." He stood, clapped a friendly hand on Clipboard's shoulder. "Hurt her, but keep her pretty," he said, then to me, kind as a priest. "Tell Dante when he comes that I said hello." "You can tell him yourself," I said. "Oh, I intend to," he said, and left with that light, humming step of a man who thinks the world is already his. The door shut. Something in me unclenched and sharpened at the same time. He wanted Dante to hear me break. He wanted a chorus to his victory speech. Not tonight. Clipboard checked the bands again. Pulse high, but steady, he murmured, impressed. Where did you learn that? School, I said. What school? Hard. Scarlip rolled his shoulders and lifted his fist again. The quiet one didn't move. His eyes had gone a fraction human. The building changed. Not the sound. The feel. Vibration threaded the floor, low and distant at first, then coming closer like a storm remembers your address. The quiet one's head moved minute. Truck. Clipboard frowned. Generator. The vibration turned to a bass thud. The bulb flickered. Scarlip snorted. Relax, it's the... The wall behind him coughed dust. The next thud shook my chair. Screams sounded far away. Radio static cracked in a panicus. Clipboard's composure thinned. Positions. Scarlip lifted his gun. The quiet one drew, gaze darting. Boots thundered in the hall. 3 sharp pops. A body hit floor somewhere left. Another scream. Metal rang. A shape hit the door hard. It blew in like it had been waiting to fall. Smoke rolled through the opening, bitter and gray. Scarlip fired into the haze. A reply came from the hall, tight, controlled. 2 shots. Scarlip folded like a bad card. The quiet one froze. I met his eyes. He held mine for a strange, still heartbeat, then he stepped aside. Dante walked through the smoke. Not roaring, not wild, cold, precise. A pistol low in his hand, a second at his back. His white shirt wore other people's dust. His tie was gone. His eyes were winter. He took in the room in one sweep. Silver on my wrist, tape on my ankles, blood at my mouth, the quiet one to the side, the dead one on the floor. His jaw flexed once. Out, he said to the quiet one. The man didn't argue. He vanished like smoke. Clipboard lifted his hands, pen trembling for the first time. She's fine, he said quickly. Small tests, no major. Dante shot him in the knee. The man went down with a cry that ripped metal into the air. Dante walked past him like he was a bag on the floor and came to me. His hands were steady. He didn't fumble the tape. He didn't touch the silver. He looked at it and the muscles under his cheek jumped. Don't, I said. I'm not touching that, he said. His knife slid from somewhere I hadn't seen and kissed the wires at my ankles. 2 cuts. Freedom. He caught my calf in a precise grip to keep me from kicking, then set my foot down gently. His eyes flicked to my face and away. Don't break, they said, or maybe they asked. His men poured past the door, dark blurs, wordless. The building answered with shots from another wing. Sophia hadn't been wrong. Knights chose who broke. He cut the tape at my wrists. The silver band remained, a mean little moon around bone. He reached into his jacket, pulled a thin cloth and wrapped it between his fingers and the band. Then, careful, he levered it open with the knife's spine. The clasp hissed. The smell of wrong lifted. Air rushed back into my lungs like I'd been underwater. The wolf slammed against the bars and bared teeth at the light. Easy, he said, not to the wolf, he didn't know, but to me, to the way my chest hitched. Breathe. I am, I said, voice rough. More, he said. I obeyed, furious at the way my body listened to his tone. He slid the band into his pocket like evidence, then cupped my jaw with one hand and tilted my head to check my pupils. Clinical, impersonal, too gentle. You okay? He asked. Define, I said. Alive, he said. Then yes. He smiled without any humor. Good. Clipboard moaned. Dante didn't look at him. How many? He asked me. 6 I counted, more outside. Raphael was here. Is he still? Don't know. Marco, he said into his mic, voice even. Sweep for Raphael, eyes on exits, no fire if civilians near the river. We're moving. Copy, Marco responded, somewhere in the building, voice ragged with motion. West stair clear, east wing hot, 30 seconds to you. Dante slid an arm under my elbows and lifted me to my feet. The room tilted. My knees said no. His grip said yes. "Don't pass out," he said. "Bossy," I muttered. "Effective," he said, echoing himself, and almost smiled. We moved into the hall. Smoke crawled the ceiling. A sprinkler spat uselessly in a corner. A door down to the left gaped, broken. Through it, I heard the river. Through it, I heard men shouting. We cut right. 2 of Dante's men fell in behind us. Another took point. The building didn't like it. It groaned like old wood remembering storms. "Down," Marco barked from nowhere. Dante shoved me into a doorway as a burst of fire stitched the hall where we'd been. A rival stepped from a side room and raised his weapon. Dante shot him once, center mass. The body crumpled. Clean, no spectacle. "Raph wants you to chase him," I said. "I'm not chasing anyone," he said. "I'm taking you out." "You're losing men," I said. "I'll lose a city before I lose you," he said, and the words hit like a backhand in reverse. Shocking, stinging, too much. "You don't mean that," I said. "Argue later," he said. We reached a service stairwell. Cool air climbed it, smelling of metal and river rot. Marco appeared on the landing, blood on his sleeve, grin intact. "Found your dance partner," he told me, nodding at the gun in Dante's hand. "He's been cranky." "Shut up," Dante said mildly. We started down. A floor below, voices rose, the door banged. 2 men burst in. Marco took one. Dante took the second. The shots were thunder in the concrete tube. "Move," Marco said. We moved. The stair spat us into a loading bay. A metal door yawned to the night. Beyond it, the river's black back, rain starting again, the stutter of a distant siren. We were 10 steps from outside, when the world narrowed. A figure stepped from behind a stack of pallets. Mask, pistol, the angle perfect for a heart. Dante didn't see him. Marco had his hands full with a shadow to the left. I did the only thing my body knew. I moved without thinking. I slammed my shoulder into Dante and turned him, taking his place in the line. The shot cracked. Heat kissed my arm. The wolf threw itself against the bars so hard my vision went white. "Change," it screamed. "Now or never. Now or dead." "Aria," Dante said, shock in his voice, his hand catching me as my knees tried to fold. "I'm fine," I lied. The world swam. The shooter reloaded. I heard the metal slide. I heard the air gather for another round. "Don't, not here. Not yet, not in front of him." But the wolf didn't care about optics. It cared about life. Bones ached, hunger rioted, the world sharpened into 1,000 separate sounds. Dante's breath. Marco's curse. The shooter's finger tightening. My heart counting us down. I felt my teeth change. Not fully. A breath. A threat. The air tasted like iron and rain and the old forest in the painting that had followed me from room to room like a promise. "Aria," Dante said again, low and fierce and too close. "Stay with me." The shooter raised the gun. The wolf raked the bars and roared. I held, by a thread, by a prayer, by a lie, stood between Dante and the barrel, and felt everything inside me break toward a choice I couldn't hide much longer, and rolled. Voices dragged me up like hooks under my skin. "Wake her." Cold water hit my face. I gasped. The world snapped into a hard, ugly focus, concrete ceiling, a single bulb, shadows like teeth. My wrists were pulled behind the back of a metal chair. Ankles taped to the legs. The room stank of bleach and old fear. 2 men stood in front of me, masks up, faces bare, young, mean, eager to impress. A third hung back by the door with a clipboard. The walls sweated. Somewhere far off, a generator coughed. "Hi," I said, voice dry. "Nice Daker." "Funny," the eager one said. He had a thin scar at his lip, a cheap watch, and the kind of nerves that shake after the first hit. "You run fast." "I like living." He backhanded me, clean, practiced. My head rocked. I blinked the stars away and swallowed copper. No screaming, no gore, stay upright. The man with the clipboard spoke at last, quiet and precise. "You work for Morty. We want names, doors, codes. Give them to us and this is easy. You kidnapped the wrong hostess, I said. He studied me like a scientist pins a moth. You were targeted, he said. Not a mistake. Feels special, Scarlip added. Where are we? I asked, buying heartbeat time. Clipboard smiled a fraction. By the river, close enough to hear him when he comes, far enough to finish before he does. So they expected Dante. Good, keep them looking outward. He nodded at Scarlip. A punch landed under my ribs. Air left my body. I dragged it back and stared at the bulb until the room steadied. You don't look like a fighter, Scarlip said. I'm not. You fought 3 of ours. I tripped, I said. Lucky me. Clipboard tapped his pen. You don't smell scared. That scraped over my skin. You smell weird too, I said. Like spray paint and bad decisions. The third man, tall, quiet, the one by the door, spoke for the first time. Raph says she isn't normal. Raphael. So the voice from the phone owned their tongues too. Raph says a lot of things, I said. Scarlip leaned in, too close. What are you? Hungry. Clipboard's eyes sharpened. He wants her alive, he told the others. Not broken, not yet. Test, don't ruin. He pulled a small metal case from his pocket, opened it like a jeweler. Inside, a thin band, dull gray, ugly. He held it up. Bracelet, he said. The metal sang in my nose before it touched me. Not sound. Smell. Wrong, cold in a way that bit memory. Silver. My scar at the hip burned like it remembered fire. No, not that. Not again. He reached for my wrist. I yanked away as far as the tape would let me. Hold her, Clipboard said. Scarlip grabbed my forearm. The quiet one held my shoulder. Clipboard snapped the band around my wrist. It touched skin. Pain lit every nerve white. No screaming, no gore, don't give them the show. I held my breath so hard my vision tunneled, swallowed the sound my throat tried to birth, and counted backward from 5. Wolf roared under my ribs, out, 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 but the silver pressed down, a silent command. Stay. Clipboard watched my face. Interesting. Scarlip grinned. That hurt. Did it? I croaked. I thought it was a friendship bracelet. The quiet one studied the band's seam, then my eyes. Something uncertain moved in his. He stepped back. Clipboard's voice stayed light. We can do this many ways, he said. The worst ones waste time. I prefer clean. Tell me how Dante secures the west gate. Locks, I said. What kind? The kind that lock. Another strike. My lips split. I let the blood sit, a red coin on the edge of my mouth, and didn't lick it clean. You taste that, you remember other things. I didn't need the reminder. Clipboard tried a different angle. Who in the house likes you? No one. Who do you like? No one. Who does Dante listen to? No one. Even his sister. My eyes flickered before I could stop them. He caught it. He breathed. Sophia. Leave her out of your mouth, I said. You're in no position to bargain, he said gently. You're in the wrong room if you think fear works on me, I said, gentler. He considered that, then nodded to Scarlip again. The next strike went higher. My chair scraped concrete. The wolf hammered bone from the inside, furious, awake. Not yet, I told it. Don't you dare, not for them, not like this. Boots scuffed outside the door. More men, a buzz of radios. Clipboard checked his watch. Raph will want to see her himself, he said, but we'll run a few more tests. He set the case down and took out a second band. This one was thinner, coiled like wire. Ankles, he said. The quiet one hesitated. He said alive. She'll be alive, Clipboard said, patient. We're verifying. He crouched and reached for my bare ankle. Stop, I said. He paused, penning the moment curious. Yes. You put that on me, I said, voice flat, and I stopped being polite. Scarlip sneered. She thinks manners are shields. Clipboard's smile didn't change. I think she's warning us she's more dangerous than she looks. He clipped the wire. It kissed skin. The world howled. A sound tore out of me, Small, feral, almost not human, almost not there. I slammed my teeth together until I tasted blood and stared at the bulb until it was a sun. The wolf hit the bars hard enough to rattle bone. Change, it screamed. Change or die. Claws scratched along my inner ribs, desperate, ancient. Not here, I told it. Not in their hands, not with their cameras. I breathed in through my nose and counted the separate heartbeats in the room. 3. And outside, 2 more. And down the hall, a 6th who paced. Clipboard heard my breath settle and stilled. Better, he murmured. You adjust fast. He glanced at the quiet one. She hears things. Scarlip leaned in, breath hot. Tell us the gate codes and I'll take those off. How generous, I said. And after that, a cookie. After that, Clipboard said calmly, we let you live. Raph doesn't let anyone live, I said. You assume he's cruel, Clipboard said. I know he's bored, I said. Those are the worst men. They ruin cities for a hobby. He nodded once, almost respectful. You do see things. The door at his back opened a slit. A new voice slid in smooth, delighted, poison wrapped in silk. Is our guest behaving? Raphael. Clipboard straightened as if the air itself took rank. She's interesting. I kept my eyes on the bulb. If I looked at him, I'd see the phone smile I'd heard, and I might forget the rules. Let me see, Raphael said. He stepped into my peripheral vision. Expensive shoes, a precise cuff, a cologne that tried too hard to be gentle. He crouched like we were at a party and his joke had landed. You, he said, amused. Morty's little mystery. I don't even work there, I said. You work him, Raphael said, smile widening. That's better. He tipped my chin up with 2 fingers. I kept my face blank and my eyes cold. He looked into them like he expected to see his reflection. What are you? He asked softly. Hungry, I said again. He laughed, delighted. Oh, you'll do. He tapped the silver band at my wrist. This bothers you. It's ugly, I said. So is power, he said. But it works. He stood, clapped a friendly hand on Clipboard's shoulder. Hurt her, but keep her pretty, he said, then to me, kind as a priest. Tell Dante when he comes that I said hello. You can tell him yourself, I said. Oh, I intend to, he said, and left with that light, humming step of a man who thinks the world is already his. The door shut. Something in me unclenched and sharpened at the same time. He wanted Dante to hear me break. He wanted a chorus to his victory speech. Not tonight. Clipboard checked the bands again. Pulse high, but steady, he murmured, impressed. Where did you learn that? School, I said. What school? Hard. Scarlip rolled his shoulders and lifted his fist again. The quiet one didn't move. His eyes had gone a fraction human. The building changed. Not the sound. The feel. Vibration threaded the floor, low and distant at first, then coming closer like a storm remembers your address. The quiet one's head moved minute. Truck. Clipboard frowned. Generator. The vibration turned to a bass thud. The bulb flickered. Scarlip snorted. Relax, it's the... The wall behind him coughed dust. The next thud shook my chair. Screams sounded far away. Radio static cracked in a panicus. Clipboard's composure thinned. Positions. Scarlip lifted his gun. The quiet one drew, gaze darting. Boots thundered in the hall. 3 sharp pops. A body hit floor somewhere left. Another scream. Metal rang. A shape hit the door hard. It blew in like it had been waiting to fall. Smoke rolled through the opening, bitter and gray. Scarlip fired into the haze. A reply came from the hall, tight, controlled. 2 shots. Scarlip folded like a bad card. The quiet one froze. I met his eyes. He held mine for a strange, still heartbeat, then he stepped aside. Dante walked through the smoke. Not roaring, not wild, cold, precise. A pistol low in his hand, a second at his back. His white shirt wore other people's dust. His tie was gone. His eyes were winter. He took in the room in one sweep. Silver on my wrist, tape on my ankles, blood at my mouth, the quiet one to the side, the dead one on the floor. His jaw flexed once. Out, he said to the quiet one. The man didn't argue. He vanished like smoke. Clipboard lifted his hands, pen trembling for the first time. She's fine, he said quickly. Small tests, no major. Dante shot him in the knee. The man went down with a cry that ripped metal into the air. Dante walked past him like he was a bag on the floor and came to me. His hands were steady. He didn't fumble the tape. He didn't touch the silver. He looked at it and the muscles under his cheek jumped. Don't, I said. I'm not touching that, he said. His knife slid from somewhere I hadn't seen and kissed the wires at my ankles. 2 cuts. Freedom. He caught my calf in a precise grip to keep me from kicking, then set my foot down gently. His eyes flicked to my face and away. Don't break, they said, or maybe they asked. His men poured past the door, dark blurs, wordless. The building answered with shots from another wing. Sophia hadn't been wrong. Knights chose who broke. He cut the tape at my wrists. The silver band remained, a mean little moon around bone. He reached into his jacket, pulled a thin cloth and wrapped it between his fingers and the band. Then, careful, he levered it open with the knife's spine. The clasp hissed. The smell of wrong lifted. Air rushed back into my lungs like I'd been underwater. The wolf slammed against the bars and bared teeth at the light. Easy, he said, not to the wolf, he didn't know, but to me, to the way my chest hitched. Breathe. I am, I said, voice rough. More, he said. I obeyed, furious at the way my body listened to his tone. He slid the band into his pocket like evidence, then cupped my jaw with one hand and tilted my head to check my pupils. Clinical, impersonal, too gentle. You okay? He asked. Define, I said. Alive, he said. Then yes. He smiled without any humor. Good. Clipboard moaned. Dante didn't look at him. How many? He asked me. 6 I counted, more outside. Raphael was here. Is he still? Don't know. Marco, he said into his mic, voice even. Sweep for Raphael, eyes on exits, no fire if civilians near the river. We're moving. Copy, Marco responded, somewhere in the building, voice ragged with motion. West stair clear, east wing hot, 30 seconds to you. Dante slid an arm under my elbows and lifted me to my feet. The room tilted. My knees said no. His grip said yes. Don't pass out, he said. Bossy, I muttered. Effective, he said, echoing himself and almost smiled. We moved into the hall. Smoke crawled the ceiling. A sprinkler spat uselessly in a corner. A door down to the left gaped, broken. Through it, I heard the river. Through it, I heard men shouting. We cut right. 2 of Dante's men fell in behind us. Another took point. The building didn't like it. It groaned like old wood remembering storms. Down, Marco barked from nowhere. Dante shoved me into a doorway as a burst of fire stitched the hall where we'd been. A rival stepped from a side room and raised his weapon. Dante shot him once, center mass. The body crumpled. Clean, no spectacle. Raph wants you to chase him, I said. I'm not chasing anyone, he said. I'm taking you out. You're losing men, I said. I'll lose a city before I lose you, he said, and the words hit like a backhand in reverse. Shocking, stinging, too much. You don't mean that, I said. Argue later, he said. We reached a service stairwell. Cool air climbed it, smelling of metal and river rot. Marco appeared on the landing, blood on his sleeve, grin intact. Found your dance partner, he told me, nodding at the gun in Dante's hand. He's been cranky. Shut up, Dante said mildly. We started down. A floor below, voices rose, the door banged. 2 men burst in. Marco took one. Dante took the second. The shots were thunder in the concrete tube. Move, Marco said. We moved. The stair spat us into a loading bay. A metal door yawned to the night. Beyond it, the river's black back, rain starting again, the stutter of a distant siren. We were 10 steps from outside, when the world narrowed. A figure stepped from behind a stack of pallets. Mask, pistol, the angle perfect for a heart. Dante didn't see him. Marco had his hands full with a shadow to the left. I did the only thing my body knew. I moved without thinking. I slammed my shoulder into Dante and turned him, taking his place in the line. The shot cracked. Heat kissed my arm. The wolf threw itself against the bars so hard my vision went white. Change, it screamed. Now or never. Now or dead. Aria, Dante said, shock in his voice, his hand catching me as my knees tried to fold. I'm fine, I lied. The world swam. The shooter reloaded. I heard the metal slide. I heard the air gather for another round. Don't, not here. Not yet, not in front of him. But the wolf didn't care about optics. It cared about life. Bones ached, hunger rioted, the world sharpened into 1,000 separate sounds. Dante's breath. Marco's curse. The shooter's finger tightening. My heart counting us down. I felt my teeth change. Not fully. A breath. A threat. The air tasted like iron and rain and the old forest in the painting that had followed me from room to room like a promise. Aria, Dante said again, low and fierce and too close. Stay with me. The shooter raised the gun. The wolf raked the bars and roared. I held, by a thread, by a prayer, by a lie, stood between Dante and the barrel, and felt everything inside me break toward a choice I couldn't hide much longer. The shooter raised his gun. I stepped in front of Dante and felt the air split, a hot line grazing my arm. Marco swore and dragged an attacker down by the collar. The loading bay rang with echoes, boots on metal, radios hissing, rain ticking on the river door. More shadows poured from the far corridor. 4, 6, too many. Back, Marco barked. No, Dante said, flat and cold. He angled to cover me, gun steady. Another pair of rifles cleared the pallets, their muzzles leveled on Dante's chest. We were cornered. The wolf inside me slammed the bars. Change, it begged. Change or he dies. Change or you both die. Aria, Dante said, voice low, too close. Stay with me. I am, I whispered and felt it. That last thread of human patience fray and snap. A masked man shouted, down on your knees. Not happening, Dante said. Then watch her fall, the man snapped, sight fixing on me. Everything narrowed. The click of his safety, the tremor of his breath, the river's slow slap against the dock. The room tasted of metal and rain. My bones ached like they were waking up from a long, bad dream. I need you to look at me, Dante said, stilling, eyes on mine. I did. For a heartbeat, the world quieted. Just his winter calm gaze holding me in place, the faint crease at his brow, the silent order. Live. The shooter's finger tightened. The wolf roared. I let go. The first shift always hurt. Tonight it didn't. It unlocked, like holding my breath for years and finally exhaling. Heat surged down my spine, bright and wild. My skin prickled, then smoothed into something stronger. Nails curved. Teeth pressed. Every sound sharpened, the scrape of a boot, the slide of rain off a gutter, the tiny hitch in Dante's breath. I took one step forward, and the room flinched. Bones rolled and settled. The world moved from flat to true. I changed. Fur rushed my skin like flame finding dry grass, charcoal dark with a blue sheen where the lights hit. My hands were not hands. They were paws with claws that could cut rope, steel, and lies. The ground met me in a way that made sense, and the ceiling stopped feeling like a lid. Silence fell. Even the rain paused to watch. Dante didn't move. His eyes, sharp, black, alive, found the wolf's eyes and didn't look away. Fear, yes. Shock, yes. Something else sparking there, too. Awe, and under it, a heat I knew how to read even in this shape. Holy, Marco breathed, voice cracking off a laugh and a prayer at once. Boss. I see her, Dante said softly. The masked men didn't shoot. They stalled, minds tripping over what they were seeing. That was their mistake. I moved. The first rifle came up. I leaped and landed on the pallets, claws biting wood, body a clean arc. The man below fumbled. I hit him with forepaws and sent him spinning into the steel bay door, breath blasting out of him in a grunt. He slid down, dazed. I pivoted and took the second rifle with my jaws, not his arm, not his throat, the rifle. I bit down and twisted. Metal shrieked. The gun broke in two like a cheap toy. "Move," Marco shouted, seizing the opening. Dante surged left, precise, controlled, shots cracking neat as knuckles. I stood over him for a breath, reading angles, reading air. 3 more spilled from the corridor. 1 tried to flank. I barreled low and hit him sideways. He crashed into a stack of crates that tumbled like blocks, scattering paper and foam. "Do not shoot the wolf," Marco yelled at our men, which was the funniest sentence I'd ever heard. "Copy," one of them stammered, hauling a target down by his jacket. "Aria," Dante called, a warning I didn't need. One of the remaining rifles trained on him from the catwalk above. I bounded up the metal steps in 3 strides. The shooter cursed and fired, the round pinged off rail. I twisted and slammed into him with enough force to carry us both into the mesh. He sprawled. I planted a paw careful, steady on his chest and bared my teeth near his cheek. He froze, nose flaring with fear. I flicked my gaze at the catwalk's light, then back to his eyes, dropped the weapon. He did. It clanged and skittered away. Below, another burst of shots, short, controlled, Dante again. The men who'd trapped us were now trapped by their own plan. 2 fled toward the dock. Marco's team cut them off without firing wildly, clean takedowns, orders barked instead of bullets. "Hold," Dante commanded. "No noise on the river." The last masked man, the one who told us to kneel, panicked and grabbed for a knife. He lunged at Dante's back. The wolf did not think. I launched off the catwalk. Wind roared in my ears. I hit the man in mid-lunge and knocked him flat, my weight pinning his wrist before the blade could touch Dante. He squirmed, gasping, arm trapped. I raised a paw. "Aria," Dante's voice, close, calm, the only tether I trusted. I didn't take the man's arm. I knocked the knife aside and stepped away, a warning and a mercy. The man scrambled and bolted for the dock door. 2 of Dante's men intercepted, disarmed, and cuffed him with zip ties in movements so smooth they looked choreographed. Then the loading bay went very quiet. Every head turned to me. Marco's mouth hung open. One of the younger guards crossed himself. Another blinked hard, dragged his senses together, and checked the corridor because good training conquers shock eventually. And Dante, he stood in the space I just saved, chest lifting hard, gun lowered but not forgotten. He met my eyes and looked like a man at the edge of a cliff, staring into a storm he suddenly wanted. He stepped toward me. Careful, unafraid. The wolf bristled on instinct, then stilled. He was not prey, he was not threat. He was the tether, the voice that had said stay with me and meant it. "Aria," he said, and the name sounded different, like he was saying truth. I held his gaze. I let him see me. The woman inside the wolf inside the woman. No more hiding, no more pretending I was only one thing. He studied the slope of my skull, the color of my coat, the way I breathed. He noticed everything as always and then noticed something new. Underneath all of it, I was me. "Beautiful," he said under his breath, not for the room, for me. The river breathed in the doorway. Rain twined the air. Footsteps sounded in the corridor again, our own reinforcements, breathless, armed, eyes wide like kids seeing magic and danger at once. One of them, Luca, I'd seen him at the gate, slowed and stared. "Boss, is that?" "Yes," Dante said. "That's Aria, that's a werewolf, eyes on the hall." "Yes, sir," Luca managed, and tore his gaze away with an effort. Marco approached with a half-laugh like he couldn't help it. "Remind me never to argue with your instincts again," he said to me. "You're—" "Enough," Dante said softly, not taking his eyes off me. It wasn't chastisement. It was protection. He knew the room's hunger for stories. He cut it off at the throat. From the far shadows came a slow clap. We turned as one. Raphael leaned in the blown doorway like a bad dream that enjoyed its schedule. No mask. No guards right on him. He wasn't stupid. But 2 shapes lingered behind at a distance, guns down for now. He wore a black coat and a smile that meant ruin. "Well," he said, delighted, "now that is entertainment." Marco raised his weapon. "Don't." "Lower," Dante said, and Marco obeyed, unwilling. Raphael tilted his head, eyes lighting on the wolf. I heard rumors, he murmured. I didn't believe them. He looked at Dante, savoring it. A king with a myth at his side, how poetic. You're trespassing, Dante said, voice even. Leave while you still can. Or what? Raphael asked, genuinely curious. She'll bite me, his smile widened. Let her, I want to see if the stories about Silver are true. A rumble started low in my chest before I knew it was there. Raphael's gaze cut back to me, greedy, wondering where I'd break. Aria, Dante said, quiet warning and quiet plea in one. I held, not because Raphael deserved restraint, but because Dante deserved proof I wasn't a monster spun loose. I planted myself between them and Raphael, steady, silent, eyes never leaving the man in the doorway. Raphael's amusement cooled a degree. Well trained, he said. Did you teach her that, Morty? She taught herself, Dante said. Something you never learned. She is not a monster, she know what she is. Raphael's eyes narrowed. For a heartbeat, the mask slipped, petty, hot fury peeking through the velvet. You think this saves you? It saves what matters, Dante said. Which is? Raphael asked, leaning forward. Dante didn't look away from me when he answered. Her. The word shocked even the air. Marco glanced over, unguarded. One of the younger men forgot to hide his grin. Another muttered a prayer I couldn't place. Raphael's smile vanished. Then thank you, he said softly. Now I know where to aim. His hand twitched. The shapes behind him lifted their weapons. I moved first. I lunged not at Raphael, not yet, but at the light switch box by the door. My paw slammed it down. The bay went dark, save the thin silver of rain and the river. Our men knew the layout, his didn't. Lights, Raphael snapped. Too late. Marco tossed a flash, white silence for the unready. Dante grabbed my ruff and angled me behind a crate as rounds sparked off concrete where we'd been. Our men moved in cross patterns, clean and quiet, not panicked by the sudden night. I took the left. Dante took the right. We moved together as if we'd trained for this, him angles and shadow, me breath and scent. I cut one of Raphael's shooters off with a snarl that made him freeze. Dante disarmed him before he figured out how. Enough, Raphael shouted, momentarily blinded, fury cracking through the silk. Fall back. He didn't wait for the answer. He melted into the dark outside with two men dragging the stunned third. A car door slammed. Tires spat water. The engine snapped away along the river road. Hold fire, Dante ordered. We don't chase blind. Silence called the room back to itself. Lights flicked, then hummed alive, backup power. We blinked. Everyone looked at me again. I stood in the middle of the bay, chest rising, fur wet at the tips, heartbeat loud enough to write a new language. The silver band lay on the floor where Dante had dropped it, a small, ugly moon that no longer owned me. Dante put his gun away. Slowly, carefully, like approaching a wild thing he respected, he stepped to me. His hand lifted. He paused, letting me lean in or lean away. I stepped in. His fingers sank into the fur behind my jaw, steady, warm, precise, like every careful thing he did. He looked into my eyes, and whatever fear had flickered there earlier wasn't fear anymore. Aria, what should I call you? He said, reverent. I lowered my head for a breath. Our foreheads touched, man and wolf, heat and winter. For one quiet second, the world shrank to that point and held. Behind him, our men recovered their discipline. Marco peeled away to secure the wounded. Orders moved like tides. The radio chirped with updates, but no one interrupted us. They wouldn't, not now. Can you, Dante faltered, the first crack in his practiced tone I'd ever heard. He swallowed, tried again. Can you change back now, or do you need? I could. The wolf had done her part. The woman had to face what came next. I stepped back into my skin. Fur receded, bones settled, breath refound its human shape. Knees wobbled. Dante moved in and caught me with the precision of a man who had decided last night to learn me and did. The room inhaled. I stood barefoot on cold concrete, hair damp, the black dress torn and ruined, his hand braced at my waist, my palm flat on his chest. The wolf paced behind my eyes and lay down, proud. "Hi," I said, because what else do you say after turning into a myth in front of a room full of criminals and one man who had just called you what matters? Clearly Dante was scared a bit. He exhaled something like a laugh. "Hi." Marco dragged a hand over his face. "That explains a lot." Sophia's voice crackled into Dante's earpiece, frantic. "Dante, are you clear? Is she?" "She's alive," he said, not looking away from me. "We're both alive." Sophia exhaled audibly even through static. "Good, get home." Dante nodded once, and then to our men, to the room, to the bay that had just held a secret from the old world. He said, "You saw nothing." A beat of silence. "Yes, boss," they answered like a vow. He slid his coat off and wrapped it around my shoulders. It hung heavy, warm, smelling like him, rain and winter, and something steadier than either. "Can you walk?" he asked. "Yes," I said, though my legs argued. He didn't argue with my yes. He adjusted an arm around me, the move so matter-of-fact it made my throat ache. As we stepped toward the door, Marco fell in at our flank. "Raphael knows now," he said quietly. Dante's mouth thinned. He was always going to, better on my terms. "This wasn't your timing," Marco said. "No," Dante said, glancing at me, heat and iron in the same look. "It was hers." Outside, the rain softened. The river breathed like a beast that understood secrets. I pulled his coat tighter and walked beside him into a night that had just changed shape forever. Everyone had witnessed what I was. Only one man had looked at the truth and said beautiful. Dante's coat hung from my shoulders, heavy and warm, the hem brushing my calves. Marco walked a pace behind us, scanning shadows. Our men moved like quiet currents, securing the last gaps, collecting weapons, swearing to the silence he'd demanded. The SUV door opened. Dante helped me in, precise, efficient, not tender but not cold. The coat kept his heat on my skin. Marco slid behind the wheel. We pulled away from the river with lights off for half a block, then on, joining the night like nothing had changed. Everything had changed. No one spoke for 3 streets. The wipers kept time. I watched the city blur and felt the wolf settle, proud and tired, close under my ribs. Dante finally said low, "How long?" "Years," I said. "Rogue?" "Yes." He exhaled once. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Would you have hired me?" Silence again. The answer sat there between us. He didn't take his eyes off the road in my reflection. "You let me walk blind into a war with a secret at my back." "I was trying to survive," I said. "So was I," he said, voice harder. "I protect what is mine. I can't protect what I don't understand." I held his gaze in the glass. "I'm not yours." He turned his head a fraction, enough to meet my eyes directly now, not through the window. Something raw moved through his stare and hid again. "But I thought you are. You are in my house. You are under my rules. That is not ownership. That is order." "Order doesn't need collars," I said softly. He looked at the bandage on my palm, where the brass had cut me earlier, then at the faint red line on my arm, where the bullet had kissed, because I moved into its path for him. His jaw eased a degree. Marco cleared his throat. "Home in 5. No one answered. We rode the last blocks in a quiet that wasn't peace. The gates opened. The mansion received us with soft light and fresh security, more men, more eyes, the kind of hush that follows a storm's second thought. Sophia stood in the hall when we entered, breath catching when she saw me upright. "You're thank God." She pulled me into a quick hug, then stepped back, eyes wet and bright. She took in my barefoot state, the ruined dress, Dante's coat. "Bathroom, food, bed, in that order." "Interrogation," Dante said. Sophia's smile died. "Can it wait?" "No," he said. Her jaw set. "Then I sit in." "No," he said again, and the look he gave her wasn't cruel. It was the look of a brother asking his sister not to watch him be the man he had to be. She swallowed and nodded. "Don't break her," she said. "I don't break what saves me," he said. He took me to his office. The door shut with that soft click that always sounded like a verdict. The winter forest painting watched as ever. He didn't sit behind the desk. He stood, forearms braced on the edge, as if a war drum beat under the wood. "Tell me," he said. "What do you want first?" "All of it." "I can't give all of it," I said, "but I'll give what matters." His eyes were winter again. "Try me." So I told him, the pack I left, the mistake that branded me rogue, the years of moving, hiding, counting exits, never shifting where anyone could see. The silver scar at my hip. The way the city's noise made the wolf pace. The way I'd kept it buried until tonight because if I hadn't, we would have both died. He didn't interrupt. He didn't move. He listened like a ledger takes numbers, precise, complete. When I finished, he was very still. "You were a wolf in my house," he said, almost to himself. "In my bed of rules, and He stopped. "And you what?" I asked, too careful. "I failed to see it," he said. "That makes me angry." "At me?" "At myself," he said, the honesty so sharp it surprised us both. Then, quieter. "And at you, for making me choose between fear and fascination." I stepped closer to the desk. "Choose neither, choose truth." He exhaled. "I don't like being handled." "I didn't handle you." "You hid," he said. "I had to," I said. "You don't trust easily. You call it order. Sometimes it's just a cage with extra locks." He came around the desk. We were 2 steps apart now. The air heated. "I have never lied to you," he said. "I know." "You lied by absence," he said. "I survived by absence." He nodded once, slow. "You did." We measured each other across the space. Desire pulled like tide. Mistrust held like an anchor. Both were real. He took 1 step closer. The world shrank to coat and skin and the quiet sound our breaths made. "When you changed," he said, voice a shade lower, "I wanted to look away because I wanted to look forever." Heat climbed my throat. "Don't make it pretty," I said, but my pulse liked the words. "It was pretty," he said, no smile, "and terrible, and I could not look away." His gaze dropped to my mouth and back. "I don't know how to want you and still control this house." "I'm not asking you to," I said, the truth a blade in my own palm. "I'm asking you not to make me your weapon." He reached for my face and stopped, fingers hovering an inch from my cheek. "If I touch you, it won't be for function," he said. "Then don't touch me because you're angry," I whispered. "Or to test me, touch me because you can't help it." The line between us thinned until it begged to break. His hand closed the last inch. Warmth, quiet, the careful press of his palm along my jaw, an answer he didn't know how else to give. I leaned in, only a fraction. We both felt the gravity change. The door knocked. He closed his eyes, breathed once, stepped back. The spell didn't break, it went aground. "Enter," he said. Mateo slipped in, soft and composed, a folder in one hand, sympathy ready in his eyes. He took in our distance, my bare feet, the coat, the heat in the room that had nothing to do with the fire. He placed the folder on the desk and kept his voice low. "Raphael tried to double back," he said. "Marco pushed him off the river road. We have 2 of his men in a truck a mile out. They're talking." "Good," Dante said, frost restored. "Names?" "Soon," Mateo said. He looked at me with that warm steadiness that made people lean. "Are you okay?" "I'm upright," I said. "Let me know when you need more than that," he murmured. "I can arrange quiet." Dante's eyes flicked to him, then to me. "She doesn't need quiet," he said. "She needs truth." Mateo nodded, accepting the posture. He shifted the folder toward Dante. "Also, a list of guests who lingered near the garden before the lights went strange. One of them, the woman in silver. She's connected to a councilman who owes Raphael." "Find her," Dante said. "Alive." Mateo inclined his head, then hesitated, as if he debated this next part and chose to say it anyway. "May I speak with Aria a moment? As a friend." Dante's jaw worked once. He looked at me, I shrugged, careful. "I can listen," I said. He stepped to the window, hands in his pockets, watching his own reflection like an enemy. Matteo lowered his voice. He will tighten control now, he said. Not because he hates you, because he hates risk. He will patrol your steps and call it care. If you need space to breathe, I can make it. You keep offering doors, I said. I keep my promises, he said, and I don't like seeing good people crushed by someone else's crown. There was no lie in his eyes. There was also too much understanding. A man who always knew exactly what I wanted to hear. Dante spoke without turning. Time up. Matteo's smile warmed like a lamp on low. Of course, he straightened. We expect a retaliation attempt within 48 hours. I'll coordinate with Marco. Aria, sleep, please. He left. The door shut, the click a small verdict. Dante faced me again. The tenderness we'd almost stepped into had retreated. He was command again, and I was the variable he didn't know how to place. From now on, he said, you don't leave the house without me or Marco. You carry 2 phones. You answer when I call. If you feel the change coming, you tell me before it happens. You want to schedule the moon, I said, too sharp. I want to keep you alive, he said, too honest. And keep your empire from shaking, I said. He didn't deny it. Of course, both. I paced to the painting and stopped. The winter forest looked colder tonight. You can lock me in and call it love, I said. It'll still be a lock. His voice softened. Don't do that. Do what? Give me a word I didn't say, he said. I said alive. We looked at each other across the room. We kept breaking and fixing. Do you trust me? I asked. He didn't answer. Exactly, I said. He took a step. Do you trust me? Yes, I said, and watched the word hit him. Then I added, enough to stand beside you, not enough to hand you my throat. He nodded slowly, as if the shape of that was something he could work with. Fair. We stood there a moment, wanting and wary. His gaze dropped again to my mouth, mine to his hands. If he reached, I would meet him. If I leaned, he would catch me. We both knew it. The intercom crackled. Marco's voice came through tight. Boss, we have a problem at the east gate. Dante hit the button. Talk. Driver says he was told to reroute donations to the church tonight, not tomorrow. Says Matteo signed off. I looked up, heart going cold. He didn't, he told us no. Who told you that? Dante asked Marco. Simon, Marco said. He's back at the gate with the truck. Dante's eyes met mine. Something like a storm crossed his face. Hold them there, he told Marco. No one moves. He cut the line and spoke quietly, almost to himself. Doors that always open. What? I asked. Nothing, he said, then to me. Stay with Sophia, don't talk to anyone else. He grabbed his jacket, heading for the hall. I followed to the threshold and caught his sleeve. He looked down at my hand, then up at my eyes. Don't trade me for peace, I said. His stare held mine for a long, hot beat. Don't make me, he said. He left. I stood in the quiet with the winter forest and the soft tick of a clock. The wolf breathed under my skin, listening to a house that had learned to speak lies like lullabies. A soft knock. The door opened an inch. Matteo's voice, low, kind, close. Aria, you shouldn't be alone. Come, I'll take you to Sophia. His shadow stretched across the floor like a path. I hesitated, then stepped forward. He smiled, warm as ever, and held the door wider. Far down the hall, a radio murmured. Somewhere outside, tires hissed on wet stone. The house exhaled. I did not see the text that buzzed in Matteo's pocket as I passed him. New route confirmed. East gate. Matteo's smile was soft as he held the door for me. Come on, Sophia in the south lounge. My bare feet whispered over the runner. Dante's coat still hung from my shoulders. Down the corridor, radios murmured, then went quiet the way rooms do when they know a secret is passing. We turned left, not south. This isn't, I began. Shortcut, Matteo said lightly. His phone buzzed. He didn't check it, too disciplined, but the tiny reflection in a framed photo caught the glow. New route confirmed. East gate. Simon. A dull alarm rang along my bones. The wolf lifted its head. Matteo, I said, too mild. Why the east gate? For the truck, he said. Fewer cameras. Convenient. For everyone, he said, warm as ever. We reached the service foyer that opened onto the east drive. Night pressed against the glass like a second hallway. A box truck idled beyond the gate, taillights poolsing. Simon stood by the cab with a clipboard and a nervous smile. 2 guards flanked the pedestrian door, wands ready. Marco's voice crackled in my earpiece. Hold the truck. No one opens a thing. Copy, one guard answered. Mr. Romano is here. Matteo's pleasant tone filled the space. Evening, gentlemen, let be efficient. Open the small door, 1 pallet at a time. Boss said hold, the guard replied. Matteo's smile didn't dim. I'm the one who signed the reroute. You told us no this morning, I said. He turned to me with a patient tilt of the head. Then I changed my mind. Dante's footsteps cut the conversation in half. He came in from the opposite hall with Marco at his shoulder, eyes already reading the angles. Simon, the truck, the tablet in the guard's hand, my posture. His gaze brushed Matteo like a blade and settled on me a beat longer than necessary, as if checking I was still there. No one opens anything, he said. Simon lifted his clipboard with a shaky flourish. Paperwork, Mr. Romano signed. Dante didn't look at the paper. Your radio, Simon. Hand it to Marco. Simon hesitated, then did. The device was clean, too clean. Open the cab, Marco said. Simon swallowed and pulled the passenger door. It was empty, no second man, no obvious threat. The night beyond the gate pretended to be ordinary. The wolf didn't buy it. Far beyond the box truck, tires hissed wet stone. Many, too many. 2 more engines, I said. Out of sight. Dante's eyes met mine. He nodded once without asking how I knew. Close the outer gate, now. Matteo's voice stayed velvet. That's unnecessary. Dante's was iron. Do it. The guard hit the switch. The gate began to slide. Simon moved too fast for the button on his key fob. Marco knocked his hand against the truck, and the fob skittered under a tire. Oops, Marco said. Matteo's smile thinned a fraction. Marco, really? Really, Marco said. Silence stretched tight. Let's stop pretending, Dante said softly. He stepped between Matteo and the guards. Who told you to reroute, Simon? Simon flicked his eyes to Matteo. Regret flashed, then fled. Orders from Mr. Romano, he said, but the words rang hollow even to him. Reroute phrase, Dante asked. Simon blinked. Curtain. The room dropped 5 degrees. That was Matteo's word, the one he used on comms when he wanted me to freeze. Dante didn't look away from Matteo. Say it again. Curtain, Simon whispered. The wolf inside me went still. The softest part of me, the part that wanted to believe the warm smile, cracked and fell through the floor. Matteo didn't flinch. It's a common word, he said, mild. We're not the only ones who speak English. And the text, I asked, from's. He turned those gentle eyes to me, so full of concern it almost landed. Aria, you look exhausted, please. Don't, I said. Something old and cold moved under Dante's face. Gate closed, he ordered. Everyone inside. The gate shuddered to a stop, halfway. Power cut. Lights flickered. Headlamps swept the road beyond. 2 vans slid into view and stopped broadside, boxing the truck. Doors cracked. Men in dark coats stepped out like teeth coming forward. Down, Marco barked. Gunfire snapped the night. The guards shoved us back from the glass. Bullets stitched the iron of the outer gate, bright sparks like fireworks at the wrong party. Inside, Dante repeated, herding the guards toward the inner hall. Matteo stayed where he was, palms up to show calm, voice smooth as balm. Hold, he said into his lapel. His tone wasn't ours. It was theirs. He glanced at me, a flicker of apology so elegant it almost worked, then shifted his weight toward the control panel. Don't, I said. He moved anyway. I moved faster. I slammed him into the wall, forearm across his throat, not enough to crush, enough to stop. His eyes widened, surprised, then sad. "Aria," he whispered, "I tried to keep you out of this." "That going to be your last good deed?" I said. He stared back and this time didn't pretend. "Raphael is inevitable. Dante is a dam with cracks. I chose the river." "You chose yourself," I said. "Someone has to survive when kings fall," he said gently. "Let go." "Boss," Marco grunted, ducking a splinter of stone as the outer gate took another volley. "We need to move." "Inside," Dante said again. He stepped to the panel, yanked the emergency lever, and the inner doors slid on manual rails. Matteo's lip curled a hair. "You always were good at doors, Dante." "And you always wanted the keys," Dante said. From the driveway, a voice amplified by megaphone. "Morty, come receive a gift." "Raphael." Dante's eyes heated a fraction, then cooled. "Marco, smoke in the drive, blind them. Group Alpha cover North Corridor, Bravo with me." "Copy," Marco said, already dropping a canister through the small hatch. Gray rolled along the stones, a slow sea. The vans' muzzles barked anyway wild now. They couldn't see. That helped. "Aria," Dante said, turning to me to the shape of me he now knew. "Can you run the east roof? Get above them?" "Yes." He nodded, no doubt, no flinch. "Go." I shoved off Matteo and sprinted for the service stair, the wolf rising, the house narrowing to a path. Behind me, men moved into position, doors slammed, orders flowed. Ahead, the iron spine of the mansion climbed. I took the steps 3 at a time. At the roof hatch, I paused, listening. Rain whispered. The low thrum of vans idling. A voice cursing Raphael's closer than I liked. I slipped into the night. The roof was slick but honest. The smoke below curled along the drive. Silhouettes moved inside it with unsure feet. I crouched at the parapet and counted. 2 by the van, 4 near the truck, 3 fanned toward the garden fence. "Positions," Dante's voice in my ear steady. 3 teams, I murmured. "Left flank sloppy, right flank sure." "Take the right," he said. "I'll break the left." "Copy." I stripped the coat, planted hands on cold stone, and traded skin for fur. The shift came easy now, like stepping into a memory that finally fit. Power surged down my back, senses bloomed full. I ran the roofline, silent, claws sure. I dropped to the pergola with a whisper, then into the hedge like a shadow learning new tricks. The right flank men never heard me. They turned at a phantom sound. I was already moving. I went for wrists and weapons, snapping straps, taking guns with my teeth and hurling them into the dark, knocking men into shrubs like badly set pieces. One swung a baton. I ducked and bumped his knee. He sat hard and stayed. On the drive, the smoke parted. Dante strode through it like a storm that had decided on a shape. He and Marco moved as one, crisp, controlled, disabling without noise, putting men on the ground and taking their breath without taking their lives. Our guards sealed the inner doors. Sophia's voice, calm, firm, guided staff deeper into the house. A figure at the truck lifted a device and clicked it twice. The box door rolled, a metal grumble. Inside, a single labeled pallet and a square of darkness behind it. A hidden man came out of that dark like a bad thought. He wore a mask and a grin you could hear. He had a short gun and good aim. He raised it toward Dante's back. I tore across the flagstones. The wolf hit him in a blur and knocked the aim a foot wide. The shot chewed harmless stone. I caught his sleeve in my teeth and flung him into the bumper. He lost the gun and his breath. Marco finished him with a tidy cuff. "Thank you," Dante said without looking, because he already knew where I was. "Always," I wanted to say, but wolves don't have words, so I placed a paw on his boot for a heartbeat and then turned toward the gate. The outer gate shuddered. Through the smoke, a shadow approached, slender, elegant, Matteo. He stood just beyond the cameras, face lit by the red glow of brake lights, phone to his ear. He wasn't running. He was marking time. Raphael's voice bled from the vans again, gleeful. "Beautiful dog, Morty. Do you sit when he whistles?" I growled low. "Raph," Dante called back, voice cool as glass. "You came for a show. Here is mine. The door stays shut. The house stands. You leave with the men you have left, or you don't leave at all. Raphael clapped slow, negotiating while outnumbered, charming. Count again, Dante said. Right then, floodlights along the north wall blazed awake, Marco's team finally in position. The yard changed shape under the light. Our men stood where shadows had been. Raphael's smiled cracked. He looked to his right, to Matteo. Matteo gave a small, elegant shrug, half apology, half oh well. He lifted his phone slightly, as if to say call me later. That was the moment the truth finished arriving. Dante's voice dropped. Matteo. Matteo lowered the phone and met Dante's eyes through the bars of the gate like a man waving to an old friend from across a river. Don't be stubborn, he said. End this before it ends you. You chose, Dante said. I adapted, Matteo replied, soft, true in his mouth, tired in mine. Why? Dante asked. No pleading, just record-keeping. He wanted the line written in ink. You mistake loyalty for gravity, Matteo said. It isn't a law of nature, it's a wager. I stopped betting on you when you started betting on her. His gaze flicked to me, wolf at Dante's side, and there it was at last, the sour coil of resentment he'd kept behind the silk. He hadn't lost the calendar. He'd lost the throne next to the throne. Open the gate, Raphael called, or your friend opens it from the outside. No, Dante said. Matteo exhaled, regret shaped to a knife's edge. I warned you, he said softly to me, like a farewell. Then he moved for the override panel mounted on the stone pillar. Now, Dante said. I was already moving. I launched at the pillar and hit it hard enough to shake the casing loose. The panel sparked. The override light died. Matteo flinched back with his hand singed. He looked up at me, wolf on the wall, eyes bright with startled admiration. Power, he breathed, almost a compliment. Behind him, Raphael swore. Plan B. The vans roared to life. Doors slammed. Engines revved in reverse. Hold fire, Dante ordered. Let them go. Raphael's convoy peeled away into the wet night, red lights smearing into distance. Smoke thinned. The yard exhaled. Matteo didn't run. He stood still, smoothing his cuff with fingers that didn't shake. He looked at Dante through the bars, then at me. This isn't over, he said quietly. No, Dante said, matching him. It starts now. Matteo backed into the road, slipped into a waiting sedan I hadn't seen, and vanished into the same night he'd invited here. The gate finished closing on empty air. For a long breath, no one spoke. Then everything moved, guards to posts, orders to radios, Sophia to the wounded with bandages and tea. Marco jogged to the panel and peered at the fried wires. Nice work, he told me. Remind me not to let you near the router. I huffed. Dante rested a hand, careful, sure, against my ruff and then took it away as if he'd borrowed steadiness and was done. Everyone to positions, he said. We go to ground, we prepare. Prepare for what? Sophia asked, appearing at my other side, eyes huge and furious and proud all at once. The end, Dante said. We finish this. He looked at me, the woman beneath the wolf, the storm he'd chosen, and didn't look away. Side by side, he said. I pressed my shoulder to his leg, answer enough, and lifted my head to taste the wind that would bring our war to the front door. The mansion didn't sleep. It held its breath. Radios whispered. Boots crossed tile. The scent of oil and rain threaded the halls. On the roof, I lifted my head and tasted the wind. East, exhaust. North, wet concrete. West, river and something metallic like an empty promise. Dante came up the last steps without noise. He stood beside me, coat open, eyes on the city. It's tonight, he said. Yes, I answered. Raphael will come big, he said. Noise, cameras, he wants a stage. Then we break the stage, I said. He looked at me, steady and hot at once. Side by side. I nodded, side by side. Marco will take the north wall. Sophia keeps the house locked. When the vans hit the drive, we split their line. You take high, I take low. And Matteo, I asked. Matteo will choose the losing side, he said softly. He already did. We didn't say the part that hurt. We didn't need to. The air said it for us. A soft footstep behind us. Sophia pushed through the hatch with a bulletproof vest in her hands. Wear it, she said, shoving it at Dante. I don't. Wear it, she repeated. He did. She turned to me, jaw set. I don't have one for wolves. I'll be fine, I said. You better, she said, then pulled me into a hug quick as a gasp. Don't make me kill a king because he lost you. I'll try, I said. She kissed Dante's cheek and vanished like a prayer that had done its job. We waited together on the roof's edge. The city below us looked calm, like it had forgiven the night. It hadn't. Headlights formed a line 2 blocks out. Vans, a 4th car tucked behind, a black sedan gliding alone, sure of its place. Raphael, Dante said. And Matteo, I said. Positions, Dante said into his mic. Set, Marco replied. Lights washed the gate. The vans eased to a stop across the drive, boxing the entrance neat as a diagram. Raphael stepped out of his car like a man arriving at a gala. Matteo came from the sedan's far side, composed, collar smooth, eyes alive. Raphael smiled at the cameras he'd brought, 2 men with phones high, streaming for ghosts and gods. Dante, he called, bring your miracle. Dante walked through the inner door alone. The house behind him stayed calm. He stepped to the top of the steps, one hand in his pocket, exactly relaxed enough to make the world believe him. I don't do miracles, he said. I do endings. Raphael laughed, delighted. Then end this. He snapped his fingers. Men lifted guns, not at Dante. At the cameras. Lights died, streams cut. The stage went dark beyond our walls. Raphael caught mid-smile, let it fall. For the first time, I saw the man without the mask, hungry, petty, furious that he wouldn't get his show. You stole my audience, he said. You came to my house, Dante said. We don't do audiences. Silence pooled. Raphael's jaw ticked. Take him. 2 squads advanced. They split clean left for the wall, right for the steps. I leaped from the parapet to the pergola and then to the hedge, landing soft. The wolf rose under my skin like a tide under moonlight. I let her up. Bones settled, fur flared, breath clarified. The air turned true. Aria now, Dante said. I ran the wall. The first squad never saw me. I took their wrists, their weapons, their balance, quick, clean, no cruelty. One swung a baton, I let it whistle past and shouldered him into the van's door. He slumped, seeing stars. Another raised a rifle too slow. I sank claws into the strap, twisted, and tossed the gun to the drive. Left clear, Marco's voice in my ear. Right, Dante said and moved. He descended the steps like a storm choosing lanes. No hurry, all intent. The first man reached for him. Dante folded him with a palm to the throat and a hook to the knee. The next lunged. Dante slid left, caught his wrist, and sent him down the stairs 2 at a time, unharmed but done. A third brought a knife. Dante stepped inside it, elbow sharp, disarmed him, and sent the blade spinning harmless along the stone. They kept coming. He kept not missing. Raphael watched, annoyed now. He turned to Matteo. Fix this. Matteo's smile was clean and sad. You brought too many lights, he said. He brought too much dark. Stop admiring him, Raphael snapped. Cut his throat. Matteo looked up at the roofline, as if he could see me crouched there, as if he'd always seen me. He tapped his earpiece that wasn't connected to ours and said quietly, Move to phase 2. Nothing moved. Marco's voice came cool and amused. Your phase 2 is taking a nap. Matteo's eyes thinned. He adjusted his sleeve, stalling. He glanced at Dante again, then at the gate panel we'd fried. He flicked a look toward the van's rear doors. I read it. Backs, I said. They're trying the garden. On it, Marco replied, already repositioning our men with hand signals no camera could catch. Raphael's temper snapped. Enough, he said. He pulled a pistol from his coat and leveled it at Dante's chest. Kneel. No, Dante said. Raphael's laugh came back, brittle. You think your dog will get to me before I pull this? He turned the gun toward the roof, toward the hedge where I crouched. He never fired. Matteo stepped between us. For a heartbeat, none of us moved. Raphael's gun pressed Matteo's shoulder instead of my skull. Matteo's eyes were on me, not on Raphael, not on Dante. He looked tired. "Don't," Matteo said to Raphael. Raphael's smile slid back into place, sticky and wrong. So dramatic. Matteo didn't shift. "You wanted a show. Here's the last act. You kill him, the city burns you for a month and forgets you in 2. You kill her, he burns everything and never stops." "Good," Raphael said. "Then I get a proper war." "You get a funeral," Matteo said quietly. "Whose?" Raphael said. Matteo finally looked at Dante. He held his gaze with a strange, small defiance. "I'm not asking forgiveness." "You don't have it," Dante said. "I know," Matteo said. He stepped away from Raphael's barrel, slowly, like a man backing off a cliff he meant to jump anyway. "But I'll end the math I wrote." He moved fast, toward the nearest van, toward the man raising a hidden device that would have cut our lights and opened our doors and set our house on fire. Matteo knocked the device from his hand and kicked it under the chassis. For a second, everyone froze, even Raphael. Then Raphael shot Matteo in the side. No gore, just a sound and a stagger. Matteo dropped to one knee, one hand pressed to his shirt where the color changed. "Idiot," Raphael hissed. "You think one gesture buys you absolution." "I didn't buy anything," Matteo said, breathing thin. "I paid what I owed." Dante moved. He didn't roar, he didn't rush, he arrived. He knocked Raphael's wrist aside. The second shot went harmless into stone. He struck once clean, heavy across Raphael's face. The smile died. Raphael swung wild. Dante slipped and answered with 2 tight punches to the ribs and 1 to the jaw. Raphael stumbled, recovered, launched like a man who only knew winning by spectacle. Dante didn't give him spectacle. He gave him precision. "Aria," Dante called. I was already on the flank, a dark flash dancing men back from the steps, herding them away from the hall, away from Sophia, away from every door that held my new home. The wolf was joy and blade, muscle and memory. I cuffed a thigh, clipped a wrist, sent weapons clattering harmless. One man, panicked, raised a shotgun. I threw my weight into him before the muzzle lifted, pinned him, and looked into his eyes until he remembered he was human. "Drop it," I growled from a throat that could still make words when I wanted. He dropped it. Raphael saw his line die and went mean. He snatched a knife from a fallen man and slashed for Dante's throat. Dante caught his wrist and twisted. The knife arc flared wide. The blade skittered into the drive. Raphael lunged barehanded and met a knee. He folded. Dante didn't finish it, not yet. He grabbed Raphael by the coat and hauled him to his feet because some men needed to stand to understand. "This is my house," Dante said low. "You don't get to write the ending." Raphael spat blood and laughed the way a man does when he's lost the plot. "You think this ends me?" "It ends with you," Dante said. Raphael's hand slid behind his back for a last, mean trick. I saw the glint small gun, short barrel, dirty play. I moved. I hit his elbow from the blind side. The shot went into the night and hurt nobody. Dante drove Raphael back against the van and pinned him there with one forearm. "Look at me," Dante said. Raphael looked, hate bright with nothing left to light. "Remember my name when you see the dark," Dante said. Raphael tried to spit again, but there was nothing to say. Marco appeared at Dante's shoulder, cuffs ready. "Alive or—" "Alive," Dante said, and the mercy was not softness. It was iron control. "He stands trial in the only court that matters to this city." "Our ledger," Marco said. "Our ledger," Dante answered. They hauled Raphael away while our men closed the circle. The vans idled, driverless and harmless now. 2 guards moved to the device Matteo had kicked away and bagged it. I turned to the driveway's edge and found Matteo on his back, breath small, hand still pressed to his side. He watched the stars laid thin behind the clouds like someone trying to remember a constellation. I patted to him and lowered my head. His eyes warmed. "There you are," he whispered, smile as soft as the first day. Door that opens, I'm sorry. For what? I asked, voice rough but steady. For liking you and still choosing myself, he said, honest at last. It's a habit I won't have to break. Footsteps. Dante came to stand over us, a shadow that knew my shape now. He didn't gloat. He didn't snarl. He knelt boss, brother, man, at the side of the friend who'd betrayed him. You did one right thing, Dante said. Matteo flinched like praise hurt worse than bullets. It won't balance the scale. No, Dante said, but it makes the last page readable. Matteo looked at me. Don't let him close you in a box and call it a kingdom, he murmured. He'll try. I know, I said. He nodded, satisfied. He looked at Dante again. I don't ask you to forgive me. I don't, Dante said. Good, Matteo breathed. He closed his eyes like a curtain falling on the final scene. His chest lifted twice more and then stilled. We were very quiet. Sophia came and stood on the other side of him. Her face was wet. She placed a hand on his shoulder and left it there for a slow count of 5. Take him inside, Dante said. Treat him as ours. Yes, Sophia whispered. The yard exhaled. Our people moved with that end-of-battle care, the good kind, the kind that knows how to put a world back into place. The vans were towed, the drive washed, the gate inspected. Inside, kettles boiled and blankets warmed, and laughter began in low, shaky lines. I stepped away from Matteo and sat at the top of the steps. The wolf lay down, not from weakness, from completion. The house smelled like lemon oil and smoke. The air tasted like rain and relief. Dante came to me. He didn't reach right away. He stood like he was figuring out how to speak a new language that felt familiar in his mouth. Aria, he said. I shifted back, fur easing into skin, bones settling into their old names. The night air kissed my shoulders. He shrugged off his coat and placed it around me without a word. Warmth. Steady. You kept them safe, he said. We kept them safe, I said. He nodded, together. We looked at the gate, the road beyond, the day that would come whether or not we were ready. I can't promise a quiet life, he said. I can't pretend to be a quiet woman, I said. He almost smiled. Good, I'm done pretending. He faced me fully now, and the power in his voice went softer, not smaller. I don't want you as a weapon. I don't want you as a secret. I want you as my partner. My breath hitched. Partner, I echoed. In the rooms and at the doors, he said. On the roof and in the ledger, you call the roots with me. You run the nights with me, no collars, no cages. You leave if I try to lock you in. You mean that, I said. I don't make bargains I won't keep, he said. And I won't survive this city without the part of you I didn't know I needed until I saw it. The wolf, I asked. The woman, he said, and then softer, and the wolf. Heat moved under my skin that had nothing to do with battle, and everything to do with him saying both and meaning it. Say it plain, I whispered. I need plain. He stepped closer, not a king now, not a boss, just a man who had spent too many nights alone and had finally found the one thing that made the dark honest. Be with me, he said. Stand with me as my equal. I could have made 1,000 jokes. I didn't. I set a hand to his chest and felt the steady pound that had been my metronome through fear and fire. Yes, I said. He let the breath go like he'd been holding it for years. His forehead touched mine, like the wolf had done, like a promise passed hand to hand. He kissed me. No audience, no stage, just heat and relief and the shock of surviving into desire. It wasn't soft. It wasn't cruel. It was true want tangled with relief, respect laced with hunger. My hands slid to his jaw. His wrapped my waist and pulled me in like a new law had been written and we were learning how to speak it. We broke only when Marco coughed from 3 polite yards away. Hate to interrupt, he said, not hatting it at all, but the east wall wants a signature. Yours, Dante said without looking back. On it, Marco said, grin audible, and disappeared. Dante rested his brow to mine again. I still don't trust easily, he said. Me either, I said. Then we'll learn, he said, Together. Together, I said. Dawn crept while we stood there. The sky went from iron to silver to a thin, daring gold. The city under it looked washed and raw, like a face after tears. The gate stood upright. The drive was clean. The blood, what there was of it, faded to brown that the sun would erase. My wolf wasn't a curse. She was the reason I breathed. She was the reason he did, too. The house would learn her steps the way it learned mine. The city would whisper. The river would listen. Tomorrow would come sharp and busy with new enemies and old friends and the next deal that might save us or ruin us. But right now, sunrise rinsed the roofs, and the man at my side had offered me more than protection. He had offered me the only bargain I couldn't refuse. My place. As his equal. As myself.